Yeah, honey, that's too much.
What's his name? Came through Uncle Luke.
He ain't nobody. He trying to
Build his brand.
be relevant again. The election is over. Don't nobody want to hear from him.
Yeah, it was a good space. Um, I felt like Javon did a great job. Of course, Naeem said he did a wonderful job, and he wiped the floor with Javon, and
I mean,
Javon couldn't hold a
well,
candle.
I'm just like, well, who is Javon? Is nobody special? Like a lot of these people to me is just nobody special. Like, what are you doing? Like, what do you do in the real world to get real results? And if that's how I look at it, if you're not giving real results in the real world, you're not special. You're just talking hot air on X.
Well, I think
I don't care how.
Javon has connections with TPUSA, and
So
he also
anybody could be a member that's having connections. I know plenty of people that P-Ray has connections, but she has her own organization. So again, what are you doing to show results in the real world? It's not being somebody's flunky, not being somebody's flunky because you're adhering to what they're doing. So I'm just I don't know. And then too, and I don't if you work for a politician, that doesn't count because the politicians are liars. They don't get work done. It's the people that get work done. So I don't give a shit about other people. That's why I don't really go in people's spaces. Like, and I'm like that. Like, I don't. I look at it like, who are you, and why? Why you're not relevant? I don't. You're not relevant to me at all.
for
I don't
me,
know.
I like to go in spaces and more have the arguments and the conversations. I
You
don't.
like to troll.
Well, I do both. I'm a troller because I feel like sarcasm, mockery, and derision is a really good way to ingratiate a lot of people. Like, of course, you're going to make people upset and angry, but you're always going to make people upset and angry. And I feel it's the people with the lowest IQs who get the most angry with sarcasm because you have to have a certain level of intelligence to understand the sarcasm, right? And so if I'm going to upset people, I'd rather upset people who are already mildly retarded. And it's fun to do. It's fun to make people upset, I think. And so then if you can get your point across, it's about winning over hearts and minds in the space. Because a lot of these people make jerk off arguments, like straight, like my dad said, what are you, a jerk off? A lot of these arguments are jerk off arguments. And so if you call out a jerk off argument and you mock it, then you win friends and influence people is
Yeah,
how I
but so
see it.
lately, lately, I would say up until today, maybe you've been trolling on you've been trolling and behaving like one of the retards. So you was on a different type of troll. So it wasn't like you was being objective or, you know, um, being an intellectual to hold discussions and calling people out on ABS. You have been trolling, like just you was doing ignorant trolling. So
But I also got a lot of positive feedback. They're like, "Yo, you're hilarious. Like, keep it up because you're making
yeah,
people."
people think you're funny. I get it, but that doesn't mean they take you seriously because somebody think you're funny.
I mean, I hear you, but in the same token, I could switch up because I could slip into different skins, right? That's what part of being a
Because
chameleon
you
is.
have split
I
personalities.
do. We went
And
over
I
this.
told you
Yeah, I
to
started my
go and take
medication.
your medication for that.
Yes, and that's why I took it Sunday night, and now I'm feeling a lot better. And I was really able to get in touch with myself. I also did a meditative session and a cleanse, and I was
Okay,
able to clear out the bad energy. And now I'm back. I'm here. I'm loving life again.
good. Well, I see the judge is here. He's probably still on the road, but I appreciate him hopping on. This is his space though. And shout out to everybody on YouTube. And the title on YouTube is Trump Destroys United Nations in Explosive 2025 UNGA Speech. Oh, honey, the elevators weren't working.
That's what he is.
Amy,
I'm
you
sorry.
have to
This is
love it. It's
the
WWF. Like, how could you not love
Yes,
how
honey, and
funny it is?
nobody. This is the monologue time. Nobody come off their mic unless I come to you. Like I mean, I'm playing that. People and I hopped in re-up space. People were staying on their mics, listening, and yeah, and that's the type of behavior I want. But anyway, let me just say this. So escalator didn't work. He called them out. I would have too. Prompter wasn't working. He called him out. I would have called him out too. And it's like, okay, all of a sudden the prompter's not working when I get up here to escalate. So him and his wife step on the escalator. I saw that video. It was kind of funny. And it stopped. And the escalator next to it that was going up was still working. And if I was his people, I would have said, you know what, come down. Because they only went up like 2 steps and get on the other one. Because it's like clearly they were being funny. Clearly. And I'm just like, first of all, the UN is useless. They don't, again, talking about show results. Okay, you have the UN and these people that work there and all these different delegates, they're trying to feel good about themselves for all the corruption that is going on in their countries, including the United States. The UN does nothing. They actually make a lot of things worse. They're useless. So it's just a organization, the League of Nations, which turned into the United Nations, to make corrupt politicians and wealthy people, oligarchs or what have you, feel somewhat good about themselves because they know they're going to burn in hell from all the fucked up stuff they committed throughout the world and atrocities. Anyway, hi, Judge. How are you?
I'll manage. I hope everybody is doing well.
Great to see you, Judge.
All right, sir. Glad to have you.
Hashtag geopolitics, hashtag UN, hashtag Kamala. Kamala came out, her book, I think her book did drop, but she's on her book tour, paying for her own security because Trump pulled her security. And she admitted that, hey, Pete Buttigieg was going to be her running mate, but she could not have a gay man as her running mate with 100 days out of the election. She could not because he was gay. And of course, people would not support her. She probably would have got less support than what she did. Yeah, and then she's spilling the beans on Joe Biden. She's airing stuff out. And why not? Why not?
I love it.
And was it today or yesterday? No, I think it was yesterday. JFK, Trump, Dr. Oz had a press conference in the White House, for autism, and they put Tylenol on the list. If women, giving kids Tylenol or pregnant women take Tylenol can increase autism. And now you have some moms that are pushing back, saying that it's not true. They're going to keep giving their kids Tylenol, what have you. So yeah. And then, of course,
I haven't looked into that.
Oh, let me just say
Did you
this
read
one
any of
last
this
thing.
stuff?
Let me just say this one last thing. And of course, this is open mic. If you want to come up and talk about whatever, anything is all rise for Judge Joe Brown. So you talk about legal, you will talk about politics, whatever it is. We have grievances, requests to come up because it's still open mic. And people on YouTube, please like and share YouTube. And if you have a question on YouTube, it's so kindly to send it via super chat. And please, everyone, repost this space and bookmark it and share the space and bookmark it. Okay, thank you.
I think Andy dropped down. I want to bring him back up if he's still in the space. I don't see him in it, though. Otherwise, Judge, what's going on with you? How was your weekend?
Well, did what I could to get people uncomfortable. Too many complacent people. So, I had a good time aggravating folk.
Judge, you sound like you could appreciate my type of humor.
Perhaps. Sarcasm is very entertaining sometimes.
Amen. Amen
Well,
and amen.
we have Bishop and we have Linda. Hi, Bishop. How are you? I want to go to you, Bishop, and then Linda. Bishop.
Oh, greetings, everybody. I was just listening, waiting to see what folks were going to say. Good evening
Okay.
to all.
Okay.
Just hello, Dana, Bishop. Bishop. Listen to me, Judge. And who's that other young man you got up here?
I am Saul now. I've embraced my Jewish roots, and I'm going with the first king of Israel. That's my new name, Saul.
Well, you do know Saul went crazy because he walked away from God, from the light of God. He went crazy, and that's when King David had to come in and take that crown. He fell from grace, Saul. Okay.
Well,
am
Dana,
I right, Bishop?
it is in line with my split personality, so you could understand why I took the namesake.
Bishop, am I right about Saul, King Saul?
Yes, you are, ma'am.
How
How
That's why
apropos.
that's why I was laughing, because I heard you all's conversation earlier. And when he was talking about his medication and everything, I was like, okay, that
it fits
might explain why he is Saul this evening.
exactly. Perfect name. Hi, Miss Linda.
Hi, thank you for having me. Hello, Dana, Judge Saul. Um, you might want to try a New Testament Saul who turned into Paul. That might be really good too. But I wanted to reflect on today with the revelation that Vice President Harris and her book tour. It's sort of spilling the tea. People are reading it and they're getting conflicting understanding of what was going on actually behind the scenes in the White House, and some of the things that she did not like. She was very loyal and did not really share everything that um, in the public during her time as vice president. She really didn't spill the tea until she wrote this book. But the level of hypocrisy for her to not pick Buttigieg, because Tim Walz is much more feminine than Pete Buttigieg, um, was much more feminine and definitely much more flamboyant than Pete Buttigieg. And so I thought that there were several people that she could have selected, and I have no idea why she did not select them. The governor of Maryland, the governor of Pennsylvania, and others who could have brought some good policy decisions in there. But I think that she did not do herself a good service. And then to abandon the LGBT community now in her book, um, I thought that was a little hypocritical, and I don't believe she has a future, any more future in her party. I also wanted to reflect briefly on the United Nations speech that President Trump gave. It was salty, um, but by the time he walked up the steps instead of going up the escalator, and his teleprompter did not work, he was salty at that time. I don't think that it was by accident that that occurred, but knowing him and knowing how he is ruffled, he talked about the fact that his wife could have been hurt. And I think he blasted, but I also think that there was a few nuggets there that people should be taking away from the open borders, the green new scam, he called it, climate change, and the warnings that were given even back in the 80s did not pan out. And so I think that there is, he set a tone um, in terms of what he expected, but um, I was quite happy that he set a tone on where he stood with America, with our energy independence, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Thank you.
I wonder. Well, a couple of things. I love everything you said. Good engagement with Kamala. She already reached the highest level that a politician can go outside of being president. So it's nothing else for her to accomplish, right? She I think she accomplished every goal that she wanted to in life. And now it's just time to just sit back and collect the checks, like the Obamas and their TV and deals and book deals. Um,
There,
And
yeah, there is a big difference, Dana, between vice president. I mean, Dan Quayle, Gerald Ford, Al Gore. I can name them, a lot of them, but unless you are president, you do not become sort of memorialized, and your finances and your monies to be able to go out and speak to your base to raise money
well, she
is
doesn't. She
for
raising money for who? Because she doesn't have to raise money for another politician because that's
no,
that
for
raise
her
money.
legacy.
What do you mean raise money for her legacy? She's already wealthy.
Yeah,
And she's gonna
but
like when I say let me just finish what I was saying
oh,
because
sure.
when Obama, him and his wife, when they left office after that second term, they got a deal with Netflix, book deal, podcast, multi-million dollars. Same thing is going to happen with her. So as far as politics, she doesn't have to campaign for another politician unless she wants to. She doesn't have to raise money for herself because once you reach the White House, especially whether you were president or vice president, you are not going to go down and want to be a mayor or a governor. There's no need. This is the time to where, okay, you want to get into entertainment just like everyone else. Unless, she want to be someone Jimmy Carter. However, when she talked about Pete Buttigieg or whatever, I understood what she was saying because it wasn't personal. And this is politics. You got to have thick skin. It's a dirty business. It wasn't personal. You have to look at it, even though the Democrat Party is very liberal and loose on some ends, there are a lot of people who are conservative within that party that would not have felt comfortable to have a openly, operative word, openly gay person. Now, as far as his qualifications, he is way more qualified than Tim Walz. And you're right, Tim, way more flamboyant, but openly he is heterosexual presented, and she was not going to have a black man because that would have been too colored in the White House. They already, from Obama. So Pennsylvania,
There is,
and let me just say this, and the governor of
oh, sure.
Pennsylvania, she wanted him, and it was something that he wanted, or something that she probably wanted him to do. It didn't pan out, but he was at the top of that list. But I don't know why that didn't work out for whatever reason. But she's spilling the beans, and why not? Why not? Because she was dragged. We all dragged her, So tell your side and get it checked like everybody else or whatever. But
Yeah,
um, mhm.
I know there's no vice presidential library. I'm just going to throw that
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
there.
No, it's
And and
right. It's
and
not
when
that.
you
It's not that. As they know that it's not that. When I say sit back and collect your millions, because you're not the president. No, you don't get a library. You could get a school named after you, but that's why I said she's going to sit back and collect her millions.
if she doesn't offend her base, and that's all I'm saying is right now, she's offending the base because Republicans are not going to buy her
Oh,
books
yes, they
and
are.
buy her.
Yes, they are.
They are not.
Yes,
They're
they are.
not.
They're already buying it.
They
So when
only
Michelle
to use
Obama
a
book,
that's
wait, hold on, let me ask you this question. Do you think that no Republicans did not buy Obama's book or Michelle Obama's book?
yes, because they were the president, and B, a very vibrant first lady who certainly was much more dynamic than other first ladies. But they certainly would because they are a unique couple with that respect. First black, first family, and so yes, people would buy it. But that's why um, President Obama is able to raise the money. Joe Biden cannot raise 50 cents.
Raise
They don't
money.
want to
Wait,
hear him.
raise money to do what?
Speaking engagements, we're
Yeah,
talking
but that's
speaking
no, no, no. Okay,
engagements,
so that's not raising money. That's being paid to someone's hiring you to come speak.
right? To raise money for
What?
they raise money for their legacy.
That's not
And
raising
they're
money. They didn't raise any money for their legacy. You keep it's not a charity. That's what you do for a charity or organization. That money is in their personal pocket. You don't raise money from the general public. You have
uh,
corporations paying you millions of dollars because you have a contract with them.
there is a foundation. Most all of them build foundations, and you raise money for your foundation, and that is your legacy. That I know for sure.
Yeah,
And
but
so
she
when
doesn't
you
have
leave
to have a
office,
foundation.
okay, well then legacy. She doesn't need a legacy because I'm telling you right now, she really is limiting her within her own political party. The book is not is coming out where she does not seem as sympathetic to the LGBTQ community because she did say she did not select him because he was gay. And so, as much as she wants to sidestep it, it is being made a mockery, and her own words are used against her. And they're likely going to invite her in to find out what she knew about President Biden's cognitive abilities there. I'm just saying that I did not see this book tour, and at least the first two interviews did not go well with her when they're being made a mockery of.
Who, the Democrat Party?
Yes, her own party.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, but they're making a mockery of themselves anyway. And listen, that's your opinion, But for me, I love every bit of it. Spill the tea, and I'm actually going to buy her book because I want to read all the details. And I hope because look, when you go on tour, when you doing interviews, you're not gonna go in depth because you want people to buy the book to read it. So I'm hoping that she has a whole bunch of other stuff in that book that's going to be nothing but tea, gossip, and backstab. Yeah, backstab. I want to read it all. Tell your side of the story. Yes.
And she has to know that there is a congressional committee investigating the cognitive decline of Joe Biden and what they knew and why she did not invoke the cognitive test, the 14th Amendment, I don't know which one it was called, to remove him from office if he was not able uh, to perform his duties. She would have been president had she done that and knew that he was not in his right mind. And again,
The 26th Amendment.
the 26th Amendment, yes. That is the issue of that book is evidence of what she knew as well and what she saw with respect to the president. And so it will be used against
So let
her.
me ask you this, Linda. Let me ask you this. Do
Sure.
you think that, because that's true, because to invoke the 26, it has to be her and the other cabin members agreeing. So it's two things here. I think the book could be her covering her ass
Could
because
be.
of the probably breaking the laws or the corruption that was going on in the administration if he wasn't cognizant. So she's trying to cover her ass, one. And then two, she probably didn't have enough influence to convince the rest of the cabin, let's evoke the 26th Amendment to get him up out of here and place me as president, because they really probably never wanted her to be there.
You know that I had not thought of that, but you are probably correct on that one. But I do know that whatever's in that book that could implicate that she knew anything about his cognitive decline will be used against her.
Mhm.
May I ask you
And
a
sorry, Linda, it
question?
was the 25th, not
May I
26th.
ask you a question, ma'am?
Yeah.
May I ask you a question? Used against her for what?
For the in the congressional hearings, they've been bringing in all of the people who worked for the chief of
But
staff.
how is that being used against her? That's no crime.
Used
So
used against her as her own personal testimony in her own words that if there is anything in the book that would allude to the fact that he was cognitively impaired and she knew it,
And
If
so,
and I'm not
Judge,
saying
there's no criminal liability that attaches
it
to it.
I'm
in
not
other
saying
words,
criminal,
so
but it
what?
would.
That's a waste of time. Everybody knows Joe Biden was a jerk, always been his whole career, and he became a senile jerk toward the end of his career. So we know that. So what's the purpose? What's it going to do to her?
It
Because she worked with a jerk, and she's an exemplar for America. She shows that any American can have a reasonable aspiration to be the president, even a hoe. So,
well,
you know,
again,
so,
I know that the investigation is leading to a desired end because people believed, especially with the auto pen and whether or not his cabinet was aware, who was aware of what, when, of his decline to address it. The investigations, I don't
but
know.
it's no crime.
I all I'm saying is that I'm not saying that there is a crime, but I do know that they're investigating whether he knew about the thousands of people he pardoned via auto pen, if he was even aware of it. That
Well, that's a separate thing. That's nothing that they can do as a blanket uh, revision. You have to have an individual case, or you have to go to court for that kind of thing. There's nothing they can do to reset that individually because you have to go down each individual case. And this is an auto pen. Is it a rubber stamp or is it an actual signature? What's going on?
he signed one he signed one pardon, and that was for Hunter Biden. He signed that with his own hand, and the rest of the thousands.
Well, you have to prove it, and somebody has to file a lawsuit.
Yeah.
The thing of it is that generally America has this legal precedent of if it's the ceremonies are gone through and there's action taken upon it, it's binding. But anyway, the thing about a pardon is did he actually cognitively issue the pardon or did he not? So you have to go through and bring him back in now that his senility is more advanced and through him prove that he did not. It's a dead end.
Oh, truly.
There's
I'm
no
just saying
point in
for
it.
her reputation and for whatever
Nobody
legacy.
cares about her reputation. She's a hoe. That's what her reputation
Okay,
is. You
then.
can't buy
Alrighty
a
then.
legacy. That comes from performance, not purchase.
Okay. Alrighty then.
So, I mean, that's just personal opinion, First Amendment statement on that. But, think about it. America's a great place. Even a hoe can run for president of the United States and be the
Yeah.
candidate
Yeah,
of a
can we
major
not keep calling her a
party.
hoe? Like that's kind of
She's a
redundant.
hoe by every definition.
Yeah, but okay,
W
we get
H
it. She's a
O R
hoe.
E.
Let's
Well, let's say W H O
but
R
no, no,
E.
no.
Or
I don't need to refer to her as any name. She's not in office.
well, she is an embarrassment to the country. I'm an
But she's no
American
longer running the country.
I know, but I'm an American citizen. I've been here a long time. I've earned the right to say I was offended,
Yeah, but
and
I
so
don't want to keep hearing you call her a hoe.
she's a hoe.
Okay, so you
Okay.
said it. Now can you stop saying
May
that? Because
may I
I
Sounds
don't want
it
to hear
right.
any man keep calling a woman the same
Well,
derogatory name
she doesn't
over and
need to
over
act
again.
like it.
may I
I
ask
mean, they're cowards. They're cowards. They're
And we don't,
punks,
that's your
and there's stuff
opinion. We
like
don't
that. And if
know
you a
nothing
punk,
about
you
her
a
sexual
punk.
life. That is your own opinion.
If you a coward, you a coward. A
okay.
hoe is
So
not just
may I
necessarily
ask a
sexual life.
question?
It's why you do it.
May I ask a question? Do you think that she would have won the nomination had the Democrats opened up the primary
No,
election?
nobody wanted it. No,
I,
America. See, you've been look. The game has been on where the communications industry, entertainment industry, and the news industry have been running a game on the American public by causing it to falsely believe that it is in the minority rather than the majority. The majority of the people in this country, whatever their ethnicity, don't buy into that particular agenda. So they discovered that. Said, wait a minute, they've been telling us a tale. They've been saying that everybody is going for this, and I didn't, but I just thought something was wrong with me. Now I find out nobody is, or very few. So it's not popular with humanity. It's certainly not popular with the people that support this republic. I mean, the average human alive in North America, in the former colonies that are now the 50 states, the United States of America, the overwhelming majority of the people like the human way. Boys and girls 101A and B. They like decency, they like honorability, they like bravery, courage, they want purpose and cause, they want to make where they live better, to be better, safer, more secure, filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, morality, and ethics. They admire bravery and courage, and they want men and women of peace who know how to be very violent when necessary. That's what they're for. They're not for corruption delivered by some group of fanatical cultists who hate what they are and want to be something else. They aren't for a bunch of folk who are going in there playing freak and want the veterinarian to fix them. They want normalcy.
Yes, yes, and yes, I do agree. But I do believe that the um the LGBTQ plus community um was um was used and left to their own devices after the election, and especially left from Kamala Harris. Joe Biden, we know, was not there. He just was not there. Everybody knew that. But Kamala Harris um, seemingly abandoned um, those who she seemingly championed. I thought that was a level of hypocrisy as well. She was for they, them, and the trans community. And then she now saying that she really didn't support boys and men and women's sports. And now she did not want to have a black woman and a gay man. That would just be too much for the. I didn't understand that why she threw Buttigieg. I'm not a fan of Buttigieg, but I'm just telling you that for the gay community, that was very telling. And um,
Booty boy and the hoe would have not been a good combination, ma'am.
I hear you. I didn't vote for them anyway, but I didn't support their party. But at the end of the day, their politics and their policies are, to me, um, are not in keeping with mine. So I don't even look that way. But I just thought that Biden indicated that he was going to be a one-term president and turn it over to her to run for president, and he didn't. But then he slid her in, which benefited her not to have to go through a primary.
May I make a suggestion to you that you might consider? Had he not been so advanced in his senility and some other problems he has, he was going to be elected. And what he was going to wind up doing is resigning not long after he got
Okay,
elected to a second term
okay,
and allowed Kamala Harris to get in there
that way.
for 2 years as vice president assuming presidency, and then she would have 8 years she could be elected to, so she could serve for 10 years theoretically.
Okay,
That's what I think what the game plan was, but it didn't work out that way because it was a sick combination to begin with.
yes, yes. Well, thank you for allowing me to.
Oh, well, I enjoyed your remarks. Don't get me wrong. I always like a great debate, but I just despise and detest people who are on board with stuff that destroys the fundamental essence of humanity.
I do too. I mean, like I said, I believe the Democrat Party is the party of death, and everything that they do and stand for now, and I say now, not historically, but now, um, leads to death, steal, kill, and destroy. Um, and so, it's unrecognizable. It is not something that um, I believe that the businesses that pulled from Pride Month after President Trump became elected were never in favor of Pride Month. You had big companies pulling their Pride Month celebrations and endorsements and sponsorship, and no more Pride name tags for businesses. And I believe that that is very telling, that it was never something that they needed, wanted, or desired to do, but for the fact that during those 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, they were forced to pretend that they cared about these groups of people. And then when you take away the hammer that, you must celebrate Pride Month, they decided not to. That it was a hard pass, and that is unfortunate. Um, but it was unfortunate to have a list of LGBT friendly companies that were used to boycott if you did not support the lifestyle and the agenda. And so, I think that it's very telling. People are concerned about their food cost, their the economy, their lives.
All right. I want to
Thank
get
you.
to solar.
Hi, thank you for the microphone. Judge, if you wouldn't mind answering a question I have, and forgive me since I didn't come in at the
Go
beginning.
right ahead. Go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So regarding cases like Jimmy Kimball, as you might have known already, companies pulling his broadcasting, and ABC then bringing it back. Um, regarding how this fits in between using free speech, fighting in the realm of culture, fighting evil or propaganda, versus what the law is able to do by enforcing it. How do you feel that cases like Jimmy Kimball's and other cases going forward, how do you think it should be handled within the context of either exercising our First Amendment rights to fight evil or exercising the law? And
It wasn't a First Amendment situation. What it is was a commercial television reality. When you get an hour long show, you're getting 32 minutes of commercials and 28 minutes of content. So, what happens is commercial sponsors who have certain products they want to sell look to see who's looking at what shows, and if the demographics of the people who watch match the people they think they can sell their product to, then they sponsor that show. So, what you probably had, knowing Hollywood, is that a number of people who were sponsors for his show said, we're not going to continue to sponsor that. So the network says, okay, we'll kill it then. And then some of those sponsors left. There were vacancies, and some others came forth and said, oh, but we have a different kind of product. We want that kind of demographic, so we will sponsor it. So they brought him back in and probably cut his funding a little bit or his paycheck a bit, but they won't tell you that. So that's how Hollywood works. It's not really a free speech matter. It's a sales matter. In other words, that's what you get when you get commercial broadcast TV. That's why you have Nielsen. Nielsen does ratings and assesses what the demographic looks like that is watching the show. So sponsors can say, okay, that looks like a good place to spend my advertising dollars. That's how it works. So it's not really a free speech matter that glorifies this flat out rank old time commercialism. I don't have anything against the man because for 5 years running, when he did this poll, I came out the most trusted man in America according to his polls. And Obama was the president, and he was down like number 52nd or something like that. So I didn't mind. I don't dislike him. His wife was a big fan. So, I mean, that's just the way TV works.
Okay, I got you. I feel you. So, how do you feel about kind of in a similar topic, the Smith-Mundt Act, restoring that, and that would that affect what anything that Kimmel had said or similar?
when you're dealing with Hollywood, it's just commercialism. Remember Budweiser? They put that freak in the bra and the panties in the bathtub, and you got a beer where 86% of your customers are male and they identify as football playing macho masculine males, and you put a freak on like that who's basically trying to exemplify toxic masculinity and trannyism, and you're not going to sell beer. The sales dropped off. So that's kind of what's going on with the product on the reverse end. In other words, it doesn't sell. You put the wrong model on the ad, and people don't like it. Like, that's not me. I'm not buying that stuff. So that drives Hollywood more than anything else. Free speech, I don't think, really had much to do with it. That's just a pretext that Hollywood used to elevate the level of what they were doing. Frankly, other than pushing an agenda whenever they can, Hollywood is so dirty and filthy, they don't care about anything. They just pimp and hold to death out there. And whatever they can sell, they sell. But they do have agendas that they sometimes push. But that is a matter where it actually causes them to lose money. But I don't think anybody was trying to deal with free speech aspects of this thing. That's the way they got to spin it. So they got a little fallout for the Democratic Party buddies, who, as far as I'm concerned, is still the party of slavery from 200 years ago, and they perfected the art of doing what they do, but they transferred their usages from King Cotton to Queen Rainbow. And it's not a pretty thing.
Um, was that all, Solar, or did you want to say anything else?
No, I appreciate it. That was it. Thank you,
It's
Judge.
good comment. I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, it's like, yeah, it sounds ugly what I'm saying, but it's an ugly situation.
Adam, how are you?
I'm great, Dana. How you doing? How you
Good.
doing, Judge?
How are you, sir?
Excellent, sir. Good to hear from you again. Yeah, I wanted to add to that. That's what I call a bit of free market regulation. That's how we can, as consumers, regulate on some of these companies. In a way, is by with our feet and our dollars, and that's how we, lay waste to companies like Disney and all these that push this lewd stuff out there. But yeah, that's I just wanted to throw that out there. Free market regulation by the people and for the people.
That was it, Adam.
Amen to that.
Yeah, pretty much. I came here to join the
Oh,
conversation,
okay.
of course, as well.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so like I said, it's open mic. Anybody want to come up and talk about whatever? Um, the Trump speech, he talked about how migrants, people are saying immigration, but specifically said illegal immigrants, can bring down one's country. I agree with that. And then he made the correlation with, the what's that green energy stuff, save the planet. But then he talked about Obama flying around in a private plane to go into Hawaii, toting we need to go green. Just really pointing out the hypocrisy. And people think that, his speech was just bolstering with his ego. But for me, I think he was really just highlighting a hypocrisy of the UN and certain people, prior administrations, agendas, and other countries as well. And I think that it was the South African president, when he came up to speak, he was saying, "Oh, we do have an environmental problem. What are they calling it?
Green New Deal.
Not that. What are they calling it? What do they call it? Environmental problem? What's the climate change? Yeah." He's saying, no, we have a problem with climate change. It's real. Climate change is real, whatever. But yeah, so So basically kind of countering what Trump was saying, and I could see why, because they had their tiff. But I wanted to ask Judge, can you just give a quick background of United Nations? What is its purpose, even though it really doesn't serve anything, and the inception of it, going back to the League of Nations?
What happened, League of Nations was the idea of that racist idiot, and I call him that, Woodrow Wilson, a Southern Democrat who was one of the first Democrats to get back in the White House after the Civil War. And he started talking about the war to impose democracy and freedom around the world for everybody's benefit, as long as they weren't American colored. So he's the one that signed the executive order that officially segregated the United States Navy for the first time, that segregated Washington, D.C., that segregated all of the civil service aspects of the U.S. government as they were developing, segregated the post office, the U.S. Marshal's office, and there had been some famous U.S. black marshals who had given sterling service to the nation. So he wound up having something wrong. He had a seizure or a stroke, and it looks like his wife wound up running the government for the last few months of his administration. He tried to impose the League of Nations after World War I, and he got the League of Nations founded, but the U.S. Senate refused to ratify the treaty. So after World War II was over, they said, we need some kind of international organization that can keep peace. So they set up the United Nations. Now, they did something that recognized the balance of power at the time. And certain nations, Great Britain, the United States, the Soviet Union, France, had veto power. In other words, everybody else could vote, but if one of those nations didn't like what was going on, they could veto, so NATO couldn't do anything, because all of the strength of NATO, not NATO, UN, United Nations, came from these very militarily powerful countries. They either had the bombs or a long tradition. So what wound up happening, to illustrate the power, is when the Soviet Union decided to boycott some United Nations missions, meetings. What wound up happening is when their proxies, the North Koreans, invaded South Korea in 1950, they were not present when the UN passed a resolution to intervene. So United Nations forces intervened in Korea, and the military might of Great Britain, France, the United States, etc., Australia, New Zealand, South Africa got brought to bear to bring against communist North Korea. Now, the Chinese, People's Republic of China, jumped in it after a while, and then it kind of evened up, so it wound up being a stalemate. But that's how the United Nations gets where it is, and it just got to be a little social, irrelevant gathering. And they have all kinds of things like the World Court, but the World Courts can't impact what's now Russia, what's now China, or the People's Republic of China. It can't impact the United States, can't impact Great Britain, can't impact France, can't impact Germany unless those particular governments, France, go along with it. In other words, the United States can effectively tell the UN to go get lost, and there's nothing they can do about it. So it's a nice little place where people can gather and vent steam off from the third world and posture. But that's about it. It's no longer what it used to be, because uh, it's gotten so nice, and it's dependent upon the United States rather than a coalition of the powers that won World War II from running things. So it's a nice place to discuss issues.
Okay. And you know what? Thank you for giving us that background because I thought Woodrow Wilson presidency was after FDR, and it wasn't.
No,
So,
that was World War One, before World War One.
oh, okay.
He's actually the worst president in my estimation because he brought us income tax as well.
Oh, of course
So
he
I
would be the worst
hate Woodrow
president for
Wilson.
you, Saul. Yes, King Saul. Lamar,
Hey, Dana.
how are you?
Not too bad, yourself?
I think you came up because you saw hashtag geopolitics.
You would be correct. So I just wanted to add something to what Judge Joe Brown said. Hey, Judge, good to see you.
Hi there.
I agree with everything Judge Joe Brown just said, but I think there's a bit more nefarious intent. And I'll point everyone to things they can go read or watch. So the League of Nations and the United Nations, at their inception, were a march towards what the inventors, those who conceptualized it, desired: global governance. Their words, not mine. And it was actually George Bush Sr. who gave a national address in front of Congress where he talks about the emergence of a new world order, a world ruled by the law of man, not the law of the jungle. You can go watch this. George Bush Sr. also gave commemorative New World Order sidearms to several people in his cabinet. So what was supposed to come after the United Nations were several regional unions. First was the European Union, where actually the idea comes out of Nazi Germany. Then there was the Asian Union, the African Union, the North American Union. And then there was something akin to like the Latin American Union that would encompass the global South in the Western Hemisphere to include everything up to Mexico. Also under the Bushes, they proposed a North American currency called the Amero. You can look this up yourself. Fox News actually reported on this years ago, where Canada, the United States, and Mexico would merge as a economic union and have one currency, but it got so much pushback that they killed it. This was after NAFTA. This is after Ross Perot said, hey, if we do this, you're going to hear the giant sucking sounds, and American jobs are going to leave the US and flood to Canada, Mexico, and overseas. And exactly what Ross Perot said happened. I'm not saying he was correct on all things. And Ross Perot was by no means a prophet. He was just reading what these people have written throughout the decades. This dovetails to what I think my perception of what President Trump did at the UN today, and that is it was a shot across the bow of the idea of globalism, another idea that comes out of the post World War II era. So, little bit of history. World War II concludes. The United States engages what's called the Marshall Plan. We essentially bought our way into control and influence in Europe. And then it was later, Zbigniew Brzezinski writes a book called The Grand Chessboard, where he spells out how the long-term goal is to push NATO all the way up to Russia's borders, institute internal instability within Russia to break it up into between 4 and 6 pieces, and then pull those pieces into Europe. So you no longer have a Eurasia, you have Russia broken apart and then pulled into the West. So this dovetails into what I think President Trump was trying to say. It is okay for nations to be proud of themselves and protect their own borders, but this flies in the face of globalism. Globalism was essentially supposed to ignore national borders, national sovereignty, national pride, all of those things. And the borders would be for the vassals like us. We go to work every day, we're trying to pay our mortgage, our bills, go to school, all that kind of good stuff. Economically speaking, there would be this globalist world that would be run by regional directors. And this is where the unions come in. So the African Union would be essentially ran by a regional hegemon, run out of the UN. So national sovereignty would essentially disappear throughout these different regions, and you have this global government mechanism that George Bush Sr. spoke about. And I'll stop there unless anyone has any questions. So I don't want to dominate the space. I appreciate you letting me speak, Dana.
Actually, you touched on some interesting concepts. Let's go to the Euro Union. The Euro Union is modeled on the United States of America. Another correct term for what we designate now as the United States of America would be the United Nations of America, or the Union of American Nations. A state is a nation. When you had the 13 colonies that became the 13 original states in 1789, what you had was 13 sovereign entities that decided to unify, just like you have France, Germany, um, you have Turkey, Greece, etc., Italy, who've joined in the Euro Union. That is where you have sovereign states coming together to conduct business, have open borders with each other. And that's what we need to understand. We set the prototype for that. When the people passed the Constitution, those who drafted it and conceptualized it were aware of European history for the last several thousand years before that. And they decided to put something in place in America so it did not fall into the trap of the warring European nations who were at each other's throats for a long time. It took another 200 years almost for the Europeans to get rid of their monarchy, get the war out of their system, damn near exterminate each other in World War II. And then they decided, after the Marshall Plan you're talking about comes in, to set them back up thanks to the U.S. and its reduction or elimination of tariffs, to turn Europe and also Asia into good markets for manufactured U.S. goods. What happened is people kind of didn't pay attention to it, and they let American investors transfer American businesses and employment opportunities overseas where the labor costs were lower and the profits could be higher. So now we've got a bastardized situation that is not good for the United States. We're losing jobs, we're losing the foundational industries, and that's because the investors have been allowed the protections of the U.S. government, the U.S. military and naval forces, and they have gone abroad and they have set up very profitable entities that come back into the country with zero tariffs and low production costs. Now that we have reinstated the tariff, that's been good for tariffs. That's been good for keeping the employment level.
Just one addition to what you said there, Judge. So I don't necessarily disagree with the idea of the United States of America necessarily influencing the European Union. But when you go back and read the writings coming out of Nazi Germany, specifically Hitler's vision for a unified Europe, he actually spoke about a European Union. So after World War II, and they're basically redrawing borders and figuring out who's going to be in charge of what. The reason why this diverges from the United States of America, where you have the recognition of a federal government that is in fact elected, the European Union is actually led by an unelected bureaucracy. And this is why I think, like, over the past several years, we've seen several movements in Europe to remove themselves from the European Union, like Blexit, um, not Blexit, um, Brexit. I'm sorry,
Right.
Brexit,
Yeah.
where they basically acknowledged, hey, we did not elect these people, but they're able to enact laws on our country. I remember in the UK, I was stationed there for several years, and there was concerns about, hey, how are these people instituting laws about how we're allowed to fish in our own waters? Well, the European Union essentially set up these dictates on these countries to, quote, level the playing field across Europe. So basically, the most prosperous countries in Europe would have to introduce intentional austerity or planned austerity so that the poorer nations of Europe would then rise to meet their level. But what they didn't account for was another document that comes out of the United Nations. I want to say March 2000 or 2001, and it's called Replacement Migration. You can look this up on your own. It's on the official UN website, where they talk about flooding the first world with the third world. And this ties into a plan that comes out of the West called Cloud and Piven, where essentially you import an underclass that overtaxes the social safety net, and then everything collapses. Out of the ashes of that, you can then basically put the populations in a position to beg for global governance across the board. And that's why I think President Trump's speech today at the UN was so important, because he essentially threw a grenade in the room and said, that plan is now done. And I'll stop there.
Now, Lamar, you're spot on, man, and good to see you in here. I haven't seen you in a while.
I think the judge dropped out. It probably was a connection thing, because I know he was en route to come back. Yeah, that was great, Lamar. I really appreciate that education. Very educational, very
Yeah,
informative.
a lot of that stuff he went over as well. I'm sure there's a lot of people, or maybe some of us in here have read it. I'm an avid proponent of it. Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper, who was a former naval intelligence officer, and he wrote a lot of this stuff down back in 1991. I think the book was published, and it's literally the playbook for everything we're seeing right now. And they talk about the Amero in that book, that it's going to be created. They talk about these school shootings and how the government has the ability to influence these individual shooters through SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and they could actually plant ideas in their brain. Which, if you want to get down a rabbit hole, we can go down another time. But
Judge, I sent you.
this is what's going on.
I sent you the co-host link. Go ahead, Peter. Sorry.
And Lamar, that's another consideration for anybody who's thinking about potentially moving to an EU-based country, which I have a few friends who are getting their citizenship in different areas based upon their lineage. And I said, you got to be careful, because what they're doing in the UK right now, they're looking to expand and bring to every other EU-based country. So you really need to be careful about where you're going to go next. Even to the point where in certain countries you're not allowed to take out over $3,000 cash. They're getting ready to institute what's going on in the CCP already, which is a social credit system connected to a CBDC. So it's quite scary.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this is just for everyone in the room. If you haven't read Behold a Pale Horse, I recommend it. The reason I don't necessarily recommend that work is because it's easy to call William Cooper some type of conspiracy theorist. So I always try to push people to the primary source. And there's a degree of chess move in that. There's no one I know, even in my time serving in the IC, that would ever call Zbigniew Brzezinski, Henry Kissinger, the United Nations, any of those primary source documents, conspiracy theorists. And I also understand that we're in this information space now where people conflate nationalist with Nazi, when that was never the idea. It was essentially, to quote Henry Kissinger, nations will do what's in the best interests of themselves. He called it realist political theory to a degree. But now it's been conflated with, oh, well, you care about your own nation, you're akin to Hitler. So my recommendation to anyone who tries to have these conversations with their friends, push them to the primary source documents and then let them contend with it, because there's not a media outlet in the world that would point to some of the who's who of foreign policy experts of the West and say, oh, well, they were just conspiracy theorists. Try calling George Bush Sr. a conspiracy theorist when he formally acknowledged on TV in America the emergence of a new world order. You can call Alex Jones a conspiracy theorist or William Cooper a conspiracy theorist, but I doubt anyone will give that same energy to a sitting president of the United States.
Yeah, Lamar, while we're waiting for the judge to come back, I'm
Well,
glad you're here, because I've seen you.
Peter. Judge, I sent you the request, and I'm actually inviting you to speak. So I don't know what is going on. I sent you the co-host request.
I did the same, Danny. He might be in a bad service area if he's in the car. Lamar, I've seen as of late, I haven't been able to catch you in the spaces because I've been I've been riling up some good
You've been
trouble
trolling.
on my own. But I I wanted to get your take. What's the latest on this Charlie Kirk assassination theory? And I agree with what you've posted recently that it smells super
After
dirty.
he answers that, I
What
want
is
to
the
get to
latest?
Exodus. So, but that's after he answers you.
Yeah. What's the latest on that? What are you thinking? And what's the prevailing viewpoint in some of the circles that we populate?
So I've reached out to a few of my friends that are still in government, and everyone has questions. So I won't make any hard statements on what I think happened. I would just say, just like a lot of official stories that come out of the government, as soon as they don't stand up to logical questioning, you know something's not right. Very basic things. I had like people have questions about the shooter, how he conducted his infill to his shooting location, how he conducted his exfil, which means you're in your hide site, you take your shot, and then you're able to get out of the area. Um, I know there's too many capabilities within the U.S. intelligence community with respect to SIGINT collection. So for anyone who's not familiar with that, the U.S. government, if you have your cellular device on you, it doesn't matter where you are, you can be tracked. And there's even commercial tools that can do this. There's one called Anomaly 6. If you type that into Google, you'll be able to see it. They made their namesake by actually tracking CIA officers from CIA headquarters back to their homes. So then there's the issue about the bullet. If you're not familiar with firearms, 30-06 pretty powerful rounds. What you see in the video doesn't match the capability of that bullet. Now it's come out that Charlie Kirk was not wearing a vest, so that takes away the excuse about some type of um, uh, it bouncing off the vest and landing in its neck. And then you have the odd statement coming out of Turning Point USA, where his, I guess the coroner says he was somehow like the Man of Steel, and the bullet was found somehow just right under the skin. I would say the overarching narrative is our generation is being given its magic bullet theory, and it'll be interesting to see if collectively we accept it or not, because there are so many glaring questions around this story, not only the shooter but the performance of the bullet. um, I think everyone's just kind of waiting to see what the FBI does and says.
Yeah, Lamar, that's surprising because I remember a space we were in a week and a half ago, around when it just happened, and we were going over how it wasn't a hit to the neck; it was actually shrapnel from hitting his chest because of the vest he was wearing, and then that shrapnel was what pierced into the carotid artery or the jugular vein. So now they're saying no, that he didn't have a vest on, so it was just a straight shot to the neck. They're
Yeah,
saying.
I actually could have
That
bought it
video
if it
looked like a
was.
straight shot.
Yeah, I could have bought it if it was shrapnel after it impacted the vest, because that at least could make some degree of sense to me. But I think it was Newsweek that reported he was wearing no vest, and it was a direct shot into his neck. There was no sign of an exit wound. And again, but before I was in the intelligence community, I was a combat medic in the Army, deployed to Fallujah, 2006, 2007. I've seen a lot of GSWs. Never seen any casualty survive a GSW to the neck, and I've never seen a shot to the neck look like that. With a 30-06 round, there should have been a massive destructive exit wound. And even if they say it hit his spinal cord after it went through his carotid, it should have basically blown it out. The neck is one of the most vulnerable parts on your body, absent your abdomen under your rib cage, and under your diaphragm. So there's just anyone who has any experience with this type of stuff. The official narrative thus far just doesn't pass the smell test.
So one more thing, and
Right.
then I'm gonna go to Exorist and the black, and then I'm gonna swing back to you, Adam and Linda. Um, somebody sent me a video, and it was 8 minutes, and they were saying that he got hit from the back, and he came out in the front of the and blew, and bust open a carotid. And so, and then they did, and so in this video on YouTube, they actually did it in slow motion. Was like, if he's hit from the back, his head is going to go in, whatever direction, and that's the direction that it went. And so that, and it went out. The exit wound was coming out of the carotid artery when we saw the blood gush out. So they're saying he got hit from the back.
But it just doesn't make sense, because if you think about a 7.62 round, right? That's the size of that bullet. That's a big bullet, right? And then you think about the muzzle velocity of the 30-06. Like Lamar said, this thing would blow damn near his neck
But
out, because it would
how
be
do we know
no
they're
diddy, no diddy.
reporting
But
the factual bullet or something?
well, if we just take the facts that we've
Mm-hmm.
been given, right? We've been trying. The tripe that they tried to feed us. It's a 30-06, right? They gave us the rifle. They gave us the pictures of it that he was able to disassemble, jump off the roof, reassemble it, leave it in the woods with a round that had writings on it, or I'm sorry, with a round that had writings on it in the chamber, and then also escape. Like, it's so fantastic. Like, it's just
Peter, real quick.
mind-boggling that
Yeah,
The only
people are
thing I'll
to
say,
buying
touch
it.
on
Peter.
Dana's
Yeah.
point real quick, if I could. So
Sorry, I just want
I
to say,
haven't
watch the
seen that video,
shoulders when
Dana.
he gets hit.
I'll have to look at that. But I would say, even with a smaller caliber round, and I apologize for being graphic here, but the exit wounds of a round, depending on the caliber, will leave what's jokingly called a flower. It basically, the vacuum behind that round exiting that soft tissue will pull some of that soft tissue with it. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty gross if
So
you know
what
what
I'm
if
gonna do, Lamar, I'm gonna message you the link of that video, and then it's about 8 minutes, so you can watch it and
Okay.
give your assessment on it. I want to go to Exodus, and then the Black, then Adam. No, Exodus, the Black, and then MBA, then swing back to Adam and Linda. Go ahead. Exodus.
And Lamar, if you can hang out, I want to follow up with that after everybody
Yeah,
else
Judge.
speaks.
Why did Judge you decline the co-host? Oh God, something is going on with his phone.
It looks like he's having
Yeah.
connection. Yeah, he's having connection
Okay.
problem.
All right. Go ahead. Exodus.
Hey, how you doing, Dana?
How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's actually Exorcist, but it's cool.
Exorcist. Sorry. Thank
Yeah,
you.
nah, it's no problem. My old name was easier. Um, what what I was about to say is touching on what he said, and I kind of wanted to hear from the judge on this, but like I'm willing to hear from anyone on the panel. Like, if you know who Nick Fuentes is, like, he used to blame stubbing his toe on Israel. And the fact that he's covering for Israel and basically saying, oh, it's no way that they did this. Like, it's low IQ if you think somebody else did this other than someone from the left. Um, how suspicious is that?
Judge, can you mute? I know you're driving, but I can't mute you. And who was okay? So I'm sorry. That was your question. That was for the judge,
The
Exorcist,
judge or whoever
or
is
anyone.
available, because I don't know
Okay.
if the judge is up here or can respond because he's driving.
Judge, did you hear the question? Basically, is asking. Did you hear it?
Okay. I don't know. His thing went out. Well, anybody want to respond to
Do I need to
Exodus?
ask it again?
Yeah, say it again, and then anybody y'all could just come
Well,
off your mic and reply to him if you want to.
well, basically, the fact that Nick Fuentes, the guy that showed up to Trump's house with Kanye that one time, they got kicked out, and it basically blames even stubbing his toe on a daily basis on Israel, somehow is defending Israel, saying that there's no way they had anything to do with it, but he would blame the simplest and smallest things on Israel normally. Is that not suspicious?
So then, I mean, if we go, Judge dropped again. That's what I'm gonna answer it. So if we then take your analysis, we would then have to say that in reality, Fuentes is a Israeli shill and a plant, and is controlled by the Mossad and the Israelis, because they're saying, don't say anything about us on this one, or throw the scent off, but continue to make it seem like we are the bad guy for these other, BS operations that really mean nothing. That's what you're asserting, that Israel was actually the one that was behind it?
I mean, like, I have no definite, but like it was said that he was switching his point of view, and it was definitely when he did the show with Ben Shapiro, and he started asking really tough questions like, is it a G side? And should we believe everything the media is actually showing us coming out of Israel? And he was starting to ask real questions, and he was going against the status quo, inviting people like Tucker and other people to speak at his Turning Point events. And the fact that all of a sudden Ben Shapiro wants to take over Turning Point and donated $1 million, is that like, how can we not see? Or am I
Yeah, but then,
tripping?
doesn't that this doesn't really stop people from? We're talking about it right now. This isn't stopping anyone from continuing down the rabbit hole or down the analysis that Israel is behind all these things and is actually a controller at long range of the United States. It doesn't stop it. If anything, it stokes more of the flames because they're going to use the analysis that we just used here, or I just used
Oh,
here. So, I mean, people are still asking the same questions, no?
yeah, and the fact that he turned down like what $100 million from Israel and a trip to Israel right before all of this happened, like,
But that's all alleged.
Yeah, but think about that. Think about it in your right mind. I don't care who you are, right? Or let's say you're somebody who's just like beginning, you're 31 years old. Somebody says, I'm going to give you $100 million to this Cayman account. It's going to be all in Bitcoin, untraceable. You're really going to turn that down? Who's going to turn that down?
A lot of
I don't
people.
care
I
who
mean,
it
A
is.
lot of people might
Yeah,
turn
a lot
that
of
down.
good Christian.
but think
Not
about,
even good.
100
Or
million?
a
think,
good patriotic somebody for some government or another. When you bring Israel into the question, the main factor in Israel is that it is a proxy for the United States in collaboration with Egypt and Saudi Arabia to get intelligence gathering, to develop anti aircraft weaponry and methodologies, to develop tank war methodologies and strategies and tactics, and stand in to keep control in the Middle East, which is deemed to be a vital area. It also puts Israel in a position of support by the United States to control the Suez Canal, which is vital to international maritime navigation. Now, back to the question at hand, the Mossad is beneficiary of Israeli laws that legitimize the use of assassination for diplomatic and, well, political purposes. So with the United States, it happens all the time, but it's illegal, and so is it with most other countries. But in any event, back to this thing about the shot. A 30-06, a 308 is essentially the quintessential deer cartridge for the United States of America. I have done in Bambi on many occasions and enjoyed his delicious or her delicious taste when properly prepared. Usually I shoot it with a 30-06 or a 308/762 NATO. The bullet hole is not going to blow any significant amount of meat out unless you've got a very delicate bullet that expands very rapidly, particularly if you have some of the better construction bullets that are available now. They will look just like what you see. Um, the shot 150 meters is that's the bread and butter shot for a deer hunter in southeast United States. You can do that all day long. The stuff that's on the video that Dana sent out, the guy is contending on YouTube that the shot came from the rear, went in through the skull, was at a downward angle toward the front and came out the neck. But in any event, be that as it may, it's essentially irrelevant because one of the things that people get fixed on is who did it and what did they do it with. The question is, Was there anybody behind it, and why was the shot taken? Now, one thing that is being missed out on is a propaganda goal, which becomes very effective when you have asymmetrical forces and you want to get somebody assassinated. You don't have to send one of your guys. You try to enhance the probabilities that you will inspire a lone wolf to do the killing for you, or lone wolves. And the main thing to get out of this is that we've got a very armed and dangerous cult, the Rainbow Cult, that because of their suicidal ideation and self-hatred circumstances are quite willing to commit suicide by circumstance, by putting themselves in situations where somebody's likely to kill them. You've heard of suicide by cop. Well, they have suicide by neighbor and suicide by circumstance. So if you check out what the American intelligence community is putting out right now, is there's a high security alert that suggests that Al Qaeda in Iran have been taking advantage of the free passage across the border, and they're in place to conduct a multi-state terrorist strike in a short while that will not be too nice. So one
Can
of
I say
their
something on that,
objectives that
Judge?
has been published is that they have been attempting to influence the gullible to go off and commit a lone wolf type killing. And that's an effective device.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
So, like where Charlie Kirk was saying on a video that got deleted off of YouTube, was that the October 7th event, like the fact that there were troops 30 minutes away from this festival that got moved to that exact spot the same day, and which happened to be a festival of people wanting peace and demanding peace with Palestine. Like, is it not like it was his idea so far off that perhaps they allowed a stand down to take out their people that were against the war against Palestine, and also the fact that there was a borderline civil war months before the October 7th event occurred?
Well, the truth of the matter is unlike in the movies, people are not able to predict these things with any degree of assurance such that they can set things up. One of the things that people do is you can take advantage of statistical probabilities that somebody will do something and not get in the way of that happening. That's quite frequently what goes on. For example, if you live in a place like Memphis, you know that it's the most violent city in the United States, 10th most violent in the world. So if you had somebody you didn't like and they were visiting you, you could direct them to a place where you didn't have to kill them, but there's a fairly good probability that they might run into some violence and somebody might do you the favor of taking them out. So
I
that's
want to get
kind of like the way things are working these days. You don't have
I want to
to
get
do the assassination or pull the trigger. You just set stuff up where somebody else will.
I want to get to the black, then ER, MBA, Sir Yogi, B Wayne, and Indy if they're still up here. So go ahead, the black.
Let me say one more. Let me say one more thing about the technical aspects. Over the last 50 years, more than that, I've had quite frequent occasion to kill Bambi with this 30-06. And the exit wounds on the neck of 120, 150, 160-pound deer, which are about comparable to a human, they look about the same. So I know all of the stuff where people talk about a rifle bullet or blow something out. It will if you get a sufficiently fragile bullet that it blows up, but nobody wants that because you destroy too much meat. You want a different kind of bullet that'll penetrate a little more. It'll go all the way through, so you leave a blood trail. Then you can track Bambi, because if you shoot Bambi with a 30-06 or 308, you get the chest or heart shot, he's not going to drop right where you shoot him unless you hit him in the spine. He's going to flee from 25 to 150 yards, and you'll have to track his blood trail. So you don't want to destroy all of the delicious
Well, I
flesh
don't
that
think
you're
we
going
care
to
about
roast.
hunting.
Could I add something to that,
No,
Dana,
I'm
just
just
really quick,
saying
if
it's
you don't mind?
the same bullet and the same thing. So you're not going to have rifle bullets that are usually in the trade. They're going to destroy too much meat unless you're getting something where
Okay, we
somebody's
get it.
setting up a
Could,
varmint
could,
mound.
could I just address that just really quick, Dana, if you don't mind? I know you have hands. I just want to ask permission.
Go ahead, yeah, quickly, because I need to get to the
Yeah, I
black.
was just gonna say. So, Judge, I think you dropped off. So before I was in the intel community, I was a combat medic deployed to Iraq, and I saw a lot of gunshot wounds. I saw several to the neck, and I will
Mm-hmm.
say the largest caliber downrange that our adversary was using was 7.62. I've never seen a GSW to the neck materialize like that. With a higher caliber round, you are going to have significant exit wounds. Now, if that was the exit wound, I have a lot of questions. If it was the entrance wound, now I have questions about where the hell is the exit wound. There are problems with what we would call in the medical field the mechanism of injury here, where what we see on the video doesn't align with reality and physics. The neck of a human being is significantly weaker than the neck of big game. So there's tissue density, there's bone density.
Bambi is not big game.
No, I understand, but it's not comparable to a
Bambi is
human either.
120, 150 pounds.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but
150 to
the,
100.
the tissue and bone structure is in fact different. So you take the neck of a Charlie Kirk and compare it to the neck of Bambi of any size, there is a vast difference. And I've seen plenty of them in combat where I can say, when I look at that video and all the combat veterans I've ever served with that I talk to about this, there are questions about what we see on that video because what we've seen in real life compared to what we're being told with respect to the official narrative doesn't line up.
All right.
So Lamar, just
Well,
to
Wait,
if
speak
no,
you
to
no,
get
no.
shot with
I
a
have to
stone,
get to the black. I
let me
have to
ask
get
you a
to the
question.
black.
Let me ask you a question. Wait a minute. All that other garbage. Hold that. This is important. Let me ask you a question. Are you talking about the wounds induced by Soviet bloc weaponry, or are you talking about the wounds induced by American weaponry? If you're
So
talking about 5.56 and you're talking about a 77 grain, those things are designed to break into and tumble, which will cause a large exit wound even for a 22
hey,
caliber
he's talking about
5.56. If you're talking about 5.45 by 39 Soviet, it's set up with the steel penetrating rear core and the hollow front point. It will tumble too and do that. If you're talking about 7.62 by 39, typical AK
Why don't
round
you just
or
ask him which
47
one he's
round,
talking about?
you will get that kind of thing. So just let me do this. Stop it. Now, what you deal with, I've seen these wounds myself, and what winds up happening is you do get a large exit wound. If you get a full metal jacket that is stabilized sufficiently, it'll through and put on an equal caliber hole on the outside. It's not going to blow a big chunk out. And to tell you the truth, humans are not all that delicate when it comes comparing to, say, a deer. A white-tailed deer, 120 to 150 pounds, is no tougher than a human being. And
All right,
I've
I need
seen
it. Let's get
humans
to the next
absorb
speaker.
some pretty gruesome stuff. Now, the next point, these are questions. See, you're not getting this
It's
with
no
the press.
questions. Y'all
Nobody
talking
is out
about
there.
bullets. We don't know
The
nothing about
question, I
bullets.
know.
yeah, but
Will
this is
you just
And I'm
interesting
not.
though.
It's not interesting. Like, what the
let it,
hell? I don't
just
want to talk.
It
I think
is.
this is
It is.
all theory.
stop. You don't
It
want
is
to.
interesting.
You don't want to, but there are other people who do want to talk about ballistics because that's
No,
the
there's only
topic.
one other person I
Did
want to
Kirk
talk
get
about with
hit from
ballistic,
the
and that's
front?
Peter.
Did
I
he
want to.
Nobody
I
get
else
want
hit
to
want to talk
talk.
from the
about
side?
ballistics.
Was there
I want to
another
talk
angle
about
on
I
the
ballistic.
like
bullet? Is
ballistics
the
and poisons,
F-39
So
damn it.
what? We
subliminal
don't care what you
narrative?
like. This space is not about
No,
you.
I don't
I
care.
want to
Nobody
talk
You're
cares
about
right.
about that
ballistics.
garbage about gossip shit.
No, I'm
Except
going to the
some
next
people
speaker.
that do
Nobody's
care.
not even gossiping. But y'all going way off the damn topic.
Oh,
The,
yeah,
the,
but
the judge
go
can
on,
Can
deal
we
finish,
with
just get
but
bullshit.
to
Go
the
on,
black
go on,
people?
deal with the
Judge, people
bullshit.
been
Don't
sitting
deal
here
with the
waiting to
bullshit.
talk.
God, deal with the bullshit. Go
Nobody's
on,
not even
go
talking
on,
about
just
no
deal with the
BS.
bullshit.
You just want to talk about
Just deal
bullets,
with
and
the
people
entertaining bullshit
sitting here
instead of
waiting
the
to ask you
educational
other
stuff.
stuff.
Go deal with the bullshit.
So can the black?
Go
It's
on
your
with the
time. Go
bullshit.
ahead.
Now, go on,
good
go
evening,
on.
Dana, Judge, and Peter, and everybody else in the room. Uh,
Hey, the
I,
black.
I do
No,
feel
Peter,
like
stop starting shit and thinking that it's all about this. This is not the Peter hour.
Okay, let's go to the
Go ahead,
entertaining,
the
fun
black.
stuff. Go ahead.
okay, yeah. I do kind of feel like what's going on in the media is somewhat kind of like a large propaganda front to get people riled up in different ways for the government to upgrade the surveillance state that's already in place, because more and more people are starting to be aware of what's going on. But I want to ask the judge, uh, with Kamala's new book, she did an interview with Rachel Maddow. Uh, do you think this is just another strategy for the dismantlement of the Democratic Party and trying to push it towards uh, another realm, just like the Republican Party is currently doing? Because it seems like both parties are doing infighting, but trying to cover it up towards the public and make it seem like it's just regular politics and it's just both sides.
It sounds to me like an opportunistic somebody that's made a whole career out of doing this kind of thing, and it's an excellent opportunity to make money, either off of the sale of the book or the launder money being given to her through apparent sales of the book. So somebody's probably going to award her for being a good faux Negro, standing in and doing what she did. So that's her payoff. So they'll funnel in money to her through apparent sales of the book that may or may not occur.
So
That's
do
how
do you
they do it.
do you think
In other words, you've been a good somebody for the cause, so we will reward you for doing what you're doing. You put this book out that a ghostwriter did for you, and we will make sure the money comes through and it looks like they're book royalties. So you get your payoff.
do you think the two-party system will be able to maintain its kind of like monopoly, or more and more
It
people?
can, but it's not a monopoly. There is no regulation that says it has to be two party. It's just what happened. When the United States was formed, you had the British parties, the Tories and the Whigs, that carried over into American politics. They evaporated about 200 some years ago. The Democratic Party was chartered to spread and protect slavery. 1851, the Republican Party came in and became the second active party at the time, because prior to that, for about a 10-year period, there was only one active political party, the Democratic Party, and the Republican Party was chartered in 1851 to limit and end slavery. So things have changed back and forth over the years, and what happens is you have those who are loyal to a party and those who are loyal to an ideology, which may flip to another party. So
Wasn't the
sometimes
Republicans
politics is nasty, sometimes not.
the Jeffersonians and then the Federalists at one point?
No, the Jeffersonians and the Federalists had disappeared long before the Republican Party came into being, by about 50 years.
Okay, that's all I wanted.
Yeah, the Republicans are chartered. They come into being in 1851.
Thank you, the black. ER. Are you still there, ERM?
ER, you gotta unmute ER.
Oh, hey, thank you so much for having me. I'll be super quick. I know you guys are talking about one topic. I was just wondering
No,
for the
it's actually
last couple
open
of
mic.
weeks.
It's not just one topic. It is open mic. It's like a
Okay, okay, great, thanks. I was just wondering if you guys covered the beheading of the Indian American. Thanks.
no. Please do tell.
Well,
I got it on my page. I could post it in a jumbotron if
No,
you don't
just
mind.
post it down below in the blue pill and the purple pill.
Okay.
What are we
Go ahead,
talking about
ER.
now?
yeah, Dana, so quickly, super quickly, I know everybody is super busy with Charlie Kirk. The same day earlier at around 9:30 a.m. in Dallas, a Indian American hotel owner manager was beheaded. Brown, of course. And I was told he's a converted Christian. His head was completely chopped off, kicked like a football on the
Was he
parking
Muslim?
lot. No, he was
Said he
not a
converted.
Muslim.
That's why I was asking.
He's converted Christian. That's what I was told, and I've written on about that as well. Um, and he, Fox News, interestingly, nobody covered it, but Fox News covered it very interestingly. The victim was absolutely silenced in the sense that there was no mention about who the victim was, but they focused on the illegal immigrant who actually killed him, which is, I understand that's the narrative and that's what is going to get the political brownie points. I understand that. But in this particular case, nobody talked about who the victim was. And interestingly so, this victim was killed in front of his son and wife as well. And when we compare these two incident, and when I was starting to talk about it, a lot of people said, "Oh, this incident didn't, make it into the mainstream because of the fact that it was on the same day, and Charlie Kirk was shot dead, and he was prominent." So basically, the way I took it as, okay, so a white Christian prominent person got shot dead and it became a national, international news. However, a brown, no name, no personality, a simple businessman got beheaded. Not one national news, not even single conversation that has happened. That something is quite disappointing and also quite alarming for me as a Hindu, non-convert. I'm not interested in conversion, but I understand what you guys follow in general speaking. I don't know who is who, but this is something that hasn't caught even a national news. This is concerning to me. That's why I questioned whether you covered it or not.
I mean, I saw it specifically, and I saw that it was a Cuban illegal immigrant that did it, and that this was another story and feather in the cap for the Trump administration to say if these people were never here, because this individual meandered through under the Biden criminal regime, we wouldn't. The individual that the victim that you just spoke about would still be alive with his child and his wife. So I did see that there was coverage for it. We didn't speak about it specifically in this space, but you do have to understand, comparing it to somebody who had the reach of Kirk that we watched die in 4K, and the political, uh, fallout from that is much different than somebody who we have no idea who it is, who we think is randomly killed, because of a dispute over, what was it, like telling him to put his
A
laundry
washing
away or something
machine.
like, yeah.
It was over a washing machine. It did I
Yeah.
think some pay.
So Dana, let me just rephrase what I understand in this particular case. It didn't matter to me whether he was Indian American or not, but a beheading actually occurred in this particular country, and his identity was completely sealed. Not a peep about who he was. But nobody was talking about you blow it up or take it up to the point that a Charlie Kirk situation was. But a simple sympathy would have been nice. A
I mean, I
compassion,
think
I
it's
would say.
mainly because it's a
Ma'am,
known
one
prostitute
thing, if
hotel.
I might add this to your mix, one thing you need to understand is that news in the United States is no longer a public service matter. It's a commercial matter that generates profit from advertising. It is an entertainment. And when the television stations put items on their news reports, they want them to generate the most viewer interest so that their commercial sponsors will be happy, and the commercial sponsors will reach customers who will buy their products. So it's like Mahatma Gandhi. He was not the only one to die in the resistance to British colonialism. He was killed apparently by some very riled up Muslims who wound
No,
up
no,
becoming
no, no,
practicing
he was shot dead by
anti-black.
a Hindu. And
But the point, but here's my point. Many other Indians, Hindus and otherwise, Sikhs, they died in resisting British colonialism. But we don't focus on them. The history tends to focus on people like Mahatma Gandhi, who had large followings. See, Kirk had tens of thousands of people that were his followers, and he had inspired a new movement. So that is deemed by the press to be more newsworthy than some ordinary person. I think it's a shame because it is of great significance. One person's life is intrinsically not worth more than another. But the real deal is that it does not generate viewer interest to focus on ordinary people under most circumstances when there is somebody who has achieved notoriety and is in the news. That's the way the industry works because they are trying to make money and satisfy their commercial sponsors.
I do
Now,
appreciate
that's
your honesty
unfortunate.
and candid reply. I understand that an ordinary person does not get the attention that they deserve. The American dream was for ordinary people. Anybody could come here with hard work, they can achieve a great dream of home and car and educate their
That's
people.
a great statement of that's a great statement of the purposes of this republic, ma'am. Thank you for seeing that. But the problem is that some people forget that, and every time you read about some horrible killing or something, or you see it in the news, or somebody shows it or brings it to your attention, there are many more that occurred on the same day. This is a violent world, and a lot of people die. So the problem is that's just the
We
way things work
understand. In the
right now.
same day, I'm sure that 200 other people died in worldwide, but that's not the point that I was raising. I
Well,
was
I
very
think
simple,
they
I
said
know,
simply
he was
but
asking
your
that
identity.
point is
perhaps this
I'm
brutal
acknowledging,
killing of this
Don't talk
beheading,
over the judge,
this
please.
is,
I
has to
acknowledge
become
the
a
validity of your
national
point, ma'am.
news, but a
I'm just saying the
simple
reality is
sympathy.
people disregard that.
I think the issue, probably the main reason they probably sealed his identity. Knowing my city, it happened in Dallas. The hotel is known for prostitution and drug deals, so he was probably running, know what I'm saying, a illegal business there too. So to push their narrative, they had to make it seem like he's a regular, just good citizen. Cause the senator from California had said something about it to
Well,
put that he was a hardworking Indian man and he was killed by illegal. So even the Democrats
so
was
are you
trying to
okay?
use that as
Hold on 1 second. This is the first time I'm hearing that. Are you saying the guy who was beheaded was somehow doing something shady?
No, the
yeah,
person who
yeah.
beheaded him.
I mean
Well,
both
of
of
course,
them,
we have
because
heard
the
about it.
hotel is
He was
known for
illegal and he
prostitution and
had some criminal
the
history.
the
I understand the
hotel is
Biden's
known is
angle.
known for prostitution and drugs. It's
He,
it's it's in the hood.
I looked it up. It was a national news story. It's even international. I'm looking it up. There's ABC, NBC, even BBC wrote a piece saying Trump vows tough action against beheading of Indian hotel manager. So it
Right, my
was
city is running. We
international. It
don't
just
like
The
wasn't
being in
the
the
picked.
news.
fact that you guys didn't know, so okay, hold on. Now I'm talking about it. Now you picked up the information. You're saying it was international.
Top
There
of
was
my
no
I
space. There
posted
was
the
no
day it
conversation
happened.
about it. You didn't know about it.
No,
Dana didn't know about
I
it.
I
We
posted it the day it
some of
happened.
us knew about it, ER, and I think this is an
Yeah.
important point. We could use this as a teachable moment to highlight why it's important for everyone to carry and train with firearms, so they can come off the hip and eliminate threats that they face. That's why this segment is sponsored by Glock 19. Glock 19 for all your self-defense needs. The magazine is interchangeable with multiple types of Glocks. So Glock 19 should be utilized. And ER, are you a firearm enthusiast, and do you train with firearms?
No, I don't. I'm a Hindu, they disarmed us for a long time. British did. And I understand. I'm actually proponent of Second Amendment. I understand what the necessities of it. However, I'm not somebody who was trained into it. So, that's
I
your
have a
answer.
Would
question
you
for
be
I have
willing
a
to if
wait one
we
second,
gifted
Peter.
you
I
one?
have a question for ER. So the British came into your country, basically colonized it for a long period and disarmed you guys?
Yes,
Oh wow.
they did. There was one incident that has happened right after they actually took arms from us. They made sure that there's no congregation of the people more than 4 people together. And one time, right after Rowlatt Act of 1919, I suppose, that was passed, there was a massive firing by General Dyer, and there was thousands of people, unarmed, poor villagers gathering for Spring Festival, and General Dyer actually ordered to kill them, and they closed all the exits. And it's a massive genocide that they committed. And thereafter, literally, we Hindus are one community have been
Judge, I need you
systematically
to press mute.
disarmed.
Can you please
Yeah,
put
whose mic is open?
that's the judge. Please put your mic on mute. Go ahead, ER.
Yeah, so yep, so we had been disarmed. We have been taught to believe in Gandhian philosophy, which is, if somebody comes and slaps you in one cheek, give them the other cheek so they can slap you one more time. Gandhi also told us to go and be killed by the Muslims, and the atrocities the Hindu communities actually went through. No other people survived it in the entire world. I'm not talking about the continent, Asian continent, Indian continent, or any other continent. Entire Western continent have been converted into Christianity. Middle East has been converted into Islam. The Indian subcontinent is the only subcontinent that has gone through 1,000 years of Islamic invasion and Christian persecution. We survived. We are crawling. We survived. We still get massive amount of trashy comments from Western entities that we're filthy, we worship cow or whatever, whatnot. We don't belong in America. We are whatever, So in general, it's just been quite interesting a journey for the Hindu community itself. The survival itself is a miracle, I would say, because nobody else did. Even in North America, in America, native indigenous Americans didn't survive. They all converted into Christianity. Very little native indigenous people left. So yes, that's our history.
Purnima, would you be willing to lead a Hindu reformation to introduce just war doctrine and self-defense mechanisms into the religion?
I would be quite interested in that, because we are the only one. If I'll tell you something about another angle of it, we have a religion in India. It's called Sikhism. It actually came from Hinduism, and they are, if you see, they have been given a lot of weapons with them. That actually started as an army and then became a religion later on, 500 years ago.
Oh,
And that came across and actually became an army because of the Muslim invasion, and they went after the Muslim invasion, atrocities. They protected Hindus as well. This was particularly a army based religion. Now, from a Hindu perspective, we have no arms. Not a single person actually carry we are so, you know, dhimified at this point of time. We don't know how to even pick up a arm at this at this point of time. It's just
but I
sad.
have one more question, because you said the Muslims came in at one point, um, but Muslims are the minority now, and Hindus is the majority. And aren't the Muslims being, treated badly in India, being very much discriminated against?
So, I think it's a major topic. I would probably like to talk about
Yeah,
it one
yeah.
time in broader discussion, Dana,
Okay.
if you like to. But in general, I'll tell you something. Islam came to Indian shore in 711 AD. For 400 years, they were not able to break anywhere. These kings of Indian subcontinents were extremely powerful. They did break through somewhere around early 11th century, and then from there, slowly they were able to get through the different kingdoms, I should say. And then by 1524, Mughal actually entered from Uzbekistan to Indian subcontinent, and that's when basically they were able to take over massive atrocities and just the brutality is
Yeah.
something that I cannot explain to you today.
Right. Right.
But one day I would love to explain. And
Okay.
then you take it to the 1750s time frame. That's when British came along, and they basically took over, and they started doing massive amount of persecution. And then 1947 is when British was ousted from India.
Oh,
So your question was, aren't they a minority? What Muslims actually did to Indian subcontinent was, the violence is something beyond I can express to you in a sane mind. And they actually took the land of Indian subcontinent. They created two Muslim countries out of it, and the idea was they wouldn't stay in the Indian subcontinent, remaining part of India, but they did remain. And when you talk about minority, they are not minority. They're 22% average and 26% to 30% in the higher side. So they're not really minority, unfortunately. In 1947 riots and the partition that has happened, they were not even supposed to be in part of India, but they are. So if you know the history, you probably will be a little bit more understanding
mhm.
towards the Hindu community, and not know what actually the Muslim community has been propagating. And not many people like me have been vocal about it.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure that we are going to be having opportunity
Yeah.
to talk about it, Dana.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Let me
Okay.
ask you a quick question. Isn't the warrior caste right below the Brahmin caste in the Hindu hierarchy of caste?
So let me explain to
Bring it
you.
up.
Yeah, let me explain to you how that works. So it's the caste word itself is not a Hindu word, neither a Indian word. It's a Portuguese word. Casta. It came from casta, and it was a propaganda that was imposed by British colonial elites in Madras somewhere around in mid 1800s. And actually, they came up with an idea how to demonize the Hindu community. So Hindu community is divided based on occupation. So let me ask you something. When you talk about Trump or Biden or Obama, who are they? Who are they actually? Are they warriors or are they administrators? Or when you talk about Dr. Fauci, are they administrators or are they warriors? When you talk about service provider, let's say, are they, so in a society is divided based on four categories. Somebody who's actually studying scripture, writing about your let's say your religion and how the society should run. So they are literally educator class, and then you have somebody who's a warrior class. So today you will define Obama, Trump, Biden as a warrior class. Then you will define Bezos and
Judge, can you please mute?
Bill Gates and etc.
Hold on for a
As
second.
the
Judge,
business
can
class,
you
which
press
is
the mute
basically
button? We don't want to
Russia.
hear your sink running.
And then you have other
Press the
people like
mute
us who are
button.
actually service providers,
Judge
which is
washing the
literally
dishes.
workers under Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and etc.
Dana,
Thank
mute
you,
up.
ER. I need to
So
wait. I need to go to a next speaker. Judge, I need for you to mute because we hear everything that you're doing in your house. All right, he can't hear. So let me drop him down to speaker. All right, he'll figure that shit out. Go ahead, D Wayne. I'll bring him up in a minute. Go ahead, B.
um,
Is
so
B Wayne okay? B
so
Wayne is not even here anymore.
I hear you.
I think it's
Mute your phone. Thank you. Can you press mute?
I was trying to. I couldn't.
No, we heard you wash dishes. We heard the alarm go
I know
off. We
I
heard you
couldn't.
start
I
making
could.
coffee.
I
I
couldn't
was like, please,
mute.
I hope he don't use the bathroom.
I
I
thought a
couldn't
toilet was gonna
mute.
go.
We get a
Dana,
Vivek.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it. We'll
No, let me let
discuss
me
in
let
details
me let
later.
me
Yeah.
let me ask a
Thank you,
question
ER.
here.
No, I need to get to the
N-
next speaker. B
But
Wayne, I
I
don't see him, so I want to get.
hold
I
on,
don't see
hold on one
Indy. So
second.
go ahead, Jane.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
Is Jane even up here? No, she's not up here. So Professor up here.
Professor Black.
Professor Black.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, Sister Dana?
Good. How are you?
What's going on there, Peter and Judge Joe Brown? How you
Doing
doing
great.
tonight?
Welcome to the space.
Hey, thank you. Look, I just want to say to ER, and I was listening to her as she was talking about the Hindu religion. I have to say, any religion that tells you to turn over the cheek to be slapped, I have to say, leave that religion. And I mean, you leave that religion now. Because I'm not turning over no cheeks to be slapped. Uh, so
No
that's the
diddy.
first thing I
No
want to
diddy.
say.
No diddy.
And ER, I do
I agree.
respect, I do
I
respect your
agree. I
religion.
agree. I'm so ashamed about it.
Hey, look, I do respect the Hindu religion, but Lord, when you look at the times that we're living in right now, and even before the times that we're living in right now, nobody should be turning over no cheeks to anybody to be slapped and be disrespected. And let me tell you this, our brother Malcolm, our leader Malcolm X, if you go back and look at all the famous quotes that he ever said, one thing he would say, he said, "You'll be a fool to just stand there and let your enemy disrespect you and beat you, and you don't do something to defend yourself. Be respectful, be courteous, obey the law, but don't stand there and just let somebody beat you down. You send them to the cemetery." Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you that's one of the things that Malcolm X said back in the day, and so that's going way back. So I'm saying to even today now, because we see that there's so much violence across the globe, you definitely need to defend yourself. So what Peter's saying about that uh, uh, taking training with handguns and everything else. I tell everybody to do that. You better start taking some training on self defense. You need to take some training, handguns, rifles, whatever it takes. You got to do it, y'all. There's so much going on out here. I want everybody to be prepared and be safe out here, because at any time you can be just bombarded by a fool. Okay, so I just want to say that I came up here just to say that, and thank you, Dana, for letting me come up.
Yeah, Professor Black, just to double down on that, I mean, this is what makes us great as Americans, is we have the right to do this. And if we don't exercise and flex our rights, we're going to lose them. So do everything you can. Get as many firearms as you can, train with them, arm everyone to the teeth, and get ready for daytime action if need be.
See, ma'am, you said something very interesting. You asked if this, that, or the other person was a warrior or administrator. Under American law, technically, everybody's supposed to be at least a warrior, eligible to be an administrator. It's called being a citizen soldier. And the Second Amendment flows out of the concept of a militia, which is not a National Guard unit, but it is supposed to be all able bodied males in a district between 15 and 60 years of age have to be prepared to defend the residents of that district. They have to supply their own arms and develop their own proficiency therein. So they are warriors first and foremost, though we seem to have forgotten that. But we need free speech in order to talk about philosophy, points, and principles, duty, honor, and obligation to inspire people and set forth the theoretical framework in which we operate. And we need the Second Amendment, which comes up to says we are an armed people who are responsible for our own defense. When our Constitution was adopted in 1789, police had not yet been invented. That would come in Scotland Yard about 50 years later. So the defense of a district, public peace, dignity, and order was up to the citizens, who were expected to be armed, prepared, and self trained in order to administer public safety. That's the difference between us and everybody else, or practically everybody else.
All right. Um, Linda, you had your hand up. Swing back to. I don't see any new speakers, so go ahead, Linda.
Thank you. A lot of good information. I wanted to bring it back to the geopolitics, the UN and Kamala Harris, as the hashtags were saying. You mentioned earlier a while ago about migrants, and I call them illegal aliens who come here illegally. But in the state that I live, the governor has been welcoming those who are not here legally. And in that time frame, where our borders were held wide open under Kamala Harris, who was the border person assigned to examine the border, 57.7% of our population growth in my state are those who are not U.S. citizens. And I wanted to get thoughts on, there is a replacement theory where populations are being replaced, particularly in the Black community. We know the negative effects of illegal immigration on the Black community that has been studied, but not addressed by the Biden-Harris administration. And the implications of the removal of the people, and why a certain particular political party is fighting the removal of those who were allowed to come here illegally. And just the thoughts on that, because I know that everything that was said that needed to be done to close the border did not need to be done. It just needed a new
Voters.
president. And and so with that, again, I don't know what she said in her book about the border. but I'm just curious to find out about the replacement. This state that I live in, 57.7% of the new population growth are those who are not U.S. citizens, and they
Really?
57.7% of all. This is Michigan. I live in Michigan. Of the new population growth under almost 8 years of Gretchen Whitmer has been those who are not U.S. citizens, and so
Are they voting?
some did. There was a couple of folk. Yes, they are voting. Some are voting. There was a Chinese national who voted in the 24 election that went back to get his ballot. Otherwise, we would not have known that they are voting. And so they're counted in the census. They are taking Section 8, portable Section 8 housing vouchers from Michigan because they come in number one, and those who need those are not able to get it. And the difference between the Section 8 vouchers is that one is the facility apartment specific Section 8 voucher, and the other one you can take anywhere in the nation. And so those who are illegal are getting their whole Section 8, portable Section 8 vouchers, leaving the cold state of Michigan and going south. And so I blame everything on the Democrat Party. I believe it's a demonic spirit. I believe that it is. I believe that. And I also believe that there was a concerted effort to open the border. There's a Nahum 3:13 is a scripture about feminized soldiers, which we had, and open borders, which we had, where our enemies came through. That's when um, um, Nineveh was destroyed finally. And one of the characteristics of Nineveh being destroyed was feminine soldiers and open borders. And I believe that when Lamar indicated that the New World Order, I believe that the Biden-Harris administration was trying to get there and institute that in the name of their party and their global um, they're being used by, I believe, demonic forces to have opened the border. 300,000 missing children who were trafficked and missing in America, and I just blame her. And I blame her for a variety of reasons. That while she did not give birth and was not a mother, she certainly had stepchildren and should have had some form of compassion toward the missing children, toward pornography in the schools, and the like. But she pushed LGBTQ, she pushed abortion, and which is why our population is not growing in Michigan. We pay for transition surgeries and we pay for abortions here in this state, which none of it leads to births. Two men can't make a baby and two women can't make a baby. And genital mutilation does not lead to babies. And certainly not having encouraging childbirths here. It is just a sad situation. I just wanted to get thoughts. I do blame her for that, though.
Linda, can I ask you a question? This is
Yes,
Bishop. Do you live up by
I
Dearborn?
live near, not too far from Dearborn. Yes.
Okay, so the mayor, from what I understand and from what I've been reading, the mayor of Dearborn is a Muslim.
Yes, he
Is that
is.
correct? Is that the same mayor that told the American citizen that he or she needed to get out of his city and that he would celebrate and have a parade?
So there's two cities, Dearborn and Hamtramck. I know the judge knows about those. Hamtramck and
But it was the Dearborn
yes,
mayor that spoke
yes,
that. Am I
I believe
correct?
so. Yes, to the Christian.
The reason why I'm asking the question
Mm-hmm.
is this: Michigan is not the only state that's been taken over by Muslims. Minnesota's been taken
Yes,
over. The state of Texas now has several entities of Muslim development that has taken over cities. And what a lot of people don't understand, and they refuse to understand, and everything that you said, by the way, Linda, about the Democratic Party is absolutely right. It's a demonic party. They are being driven not only by themselves, but there are other hands that are driving them. When the borders were open, when they were in power, their main goal was to have a new, they were pushing forward the New World Order
yes,
agenda. And they were trying to make the United States
yes,
capitulate. They thought that we were going to capitulate like, uh, uh, um, what is it, Italy and other European countries that are capitulating to the
Germany.
Muslim
Yeah,
faith. Germany, thank you. So everything that you're saying is true. What a lot of people do not understand is that this is an agenda that has been going on for a very, very
yes,
long time. This is the reason why we have what's known as the
yes,
matrix, because what we see on top, on the top layer, is nothing that's indicative of what's happening up underneath. And what's happening up underneath is so atrocious that people would not be able, as what's his name said, they would not be able to handle the truth. And the rabbit holes go so far, so deep, and branch off in so many different directions. But this is actually the playbook of the deep state.
yes,
And they were determined to take over states such
yes,
as Michigan, Minnesota, Washington State, California. They are, see, if you cannot defeat your enemy by physical
yes,
means, in military intelligence, and Lamore should know this, then you infiltrate them
yes,
and you take over from the inside. I am a veteran, and that's exactly military strategy. So people are deceived because they keep hearing the propaganda that's put out there by the mainstream media, and they keep following that propaganda instead of using their own common sense that the good Lord gave them to ask questions and analyze situations such as the way that you just laid out. And it's hard for people to understand that, when you've done something all of your life and you have done it a particular way, or you've had a particular belief all of your life, and then somebody comes along and says, hey, that's not the truth. Let me give you some truth. People do not want to hear the truth because they're leaning to their own
yes,
understanding. When somebody comes in and tells them, listen, this was the wrong way to think about this, let me give you the proof. People don't want to accept that. People do not want to know the truth because now you've taken them outside of their comfort zone for them to operate in this world the way it is right now. And if you try to guide them out of the mental um, prison that they have been placed into by propaganda, they they fight tooth and nail to stay in that prison because they don't know anything any better. And people like you, Linda, that are bringing these things out, other than the clergy, is an absolute awesome thing. I am looking forward to the president going into Dearborn and clearing out
absolutely.
Dearborn. I am looking forward. You're right. As soon as you said 57% was taken of the people in the state were Muslims, it was Muslims. I already knew who you were talking
Well,
about.
the
So that's all I had
it
to say there.
it's
Go
the
ahead, Linda.
new growth and population is grown by 57% of our population growth are non-citizens, and that is the statistic from the state of Michigan. under Democrat control. And I will tell you, it is a vile thing that has been allowed to occur. And every single person, I feel like Jude, save those you can, snatching them out of the fire, because there are those who maybe even on this listening in, and I respect thoughts and opinions of folks, but the facts are Black folks are number one in killing our own in the womb. Regardless of how you feel about abortion, it is killing us mostly. We are
Well, that was targeted
it,
by
it, Margaret
Rockefeller
Sanger
and
and everybody else.
Margaret Sanger. Yep,
Yeah, and so
exactly.
and it is, and then we are number one in not being educated. Detroit, 92%, 95% of Detroit children cannot read. 95 of black children in Detroit cannot read. And so the issues of not teaching a slave how to read is very prevalent in our communities across the nation,
But
especially
isn't that the parents' fault that their kids can't read? It's
if
not
you
no
got a
white man's
parent,
fault.
Dana. If you got a parent, Dana, public school is supposed to be educating all children.
No,
And
no,
when
but if your child cannot read, it falls on the parent first.
if they have a parent, and I'm telling you, Dana, slaves learn how to read. Frederick Douglass learned how to read.
May I
Yeah, what
ask,
are we paying taxes for if
wait,
they
hold
can't
on,
read?
hold on. Why are we subsidizing these people to have more children that they shouldn't have in the first place? That's your premise right there.
That
See, that gets back to it. These people are not raised in functional families. There's no racist sitting across the kitchen table that prohibits a parent from teaching their child how to read
if
at the
if
kitchen
if you
table.
have generational illiteracy, Judge, with all due
Then why
respect,
are we financing these people who have generational illiteracy to have so many children that they can't pay for that we subsidize so they can? Why are
I
we
don't
doing
think
this?
95% have generational illiteracy.
I don't think so
I I
either.
I
But
believe that I know. So here, especially in Detroit, if you look at the functional illiteracy, there's publications, and I can put them in the purple spot there. 95% of Black children in Detroit are functionally illiterate,
well,
cannot read.
let me read. So
And
let,
Detroit itself has over 50% illiteracy.
that's the
So yes,
people's
it's
fault that live
generational.
in Detroit. That's their fault.
Yes, and
Let me
we
bring something to your attention. When
yes, sir.
Ulysses Grant wrote his memoirs after the Civil War, well, before he died of throat cancer after being president, he said it was remarkable to him that when he conducted a literacy test for the Union Army after the Civil War, the only completely literate units in the Union Army of company size or larger were colored volunteers. He said you never saw a colored soldier without a book or some writing material to practice his letters with. They always wrote. They didn't get drunk. They learned and they craved information. What happened
which
between
is
then and now?
why which is why my generation, who was very literate, with whether you had a single parent or not, which was very literate, we were much better literate in the 60s, 50s, and 60s than the children of today.
I agree with
There
you.
is, and that is my point, is that there are institutions right now that are inherently racist, resorting to those things that cause children to
Wait a minute.
not be able.
What's racism got to do with it? These white folk go, Asian folk, Hispanic folk go to the same schools. Why do you want to insist on racism? The black folk have people that represent the various and sundry districts in
the
which they are a
evidence
majority.
the evidence on who they choose to educate is very prevalent. I don't know what other states, but I know in Michigan, having studied all the data, when you have urban communities with teachers who are not no longer, because of the Democrat Party, being paid based on merit. There's no more merit pay.
Okay, now
So if you don't,
who constitutes the Democratic Party?
the governor,
No,
the state board of ed,
Black people.
Yeah, that's it. So since they control the politics there, why in the hell
they
do
don't
you let them get
they
away
don't
with not?
control it.
Well, they
They
are
don't
certainly
control it.
populated. They populate
They,
it.
they vote for it, but they don't
Well,
control it.
if
And
they
that's what
vote
my
for it,
point
why are
is.
they voting for it?
Because they are
Wait a
I
minute.
would let
The board of education, they control the educational politics
Well,
of
you
that
got
said
a
state
stupid
or district.
ignoramus.
they do
You
not,
got a
the
stupid
black folks do
ignoramus.
not.
You got a stupid ignoramus who has an opportunity to be a viable candidate for president of the United States, like several have been lately. You mean to tell me that they don't have sense enough to say this is not in my best interest? What kind of slave are you talking about that keeps voting for something that's the antithesis of what he needs or she needs?
Well, I'm just telling you that there are other influences. I
No,
think Bishop
we
that
cannot rely on excusing this because somebody else is doing to us. When we
I'm
do
I'm
that,
I'm
you let
telling
them
you
do it to
that it
us.
is I'm telling you that there is a concerted effort in the state of Michigan. I'm not speaking for other states. In the state of Michigan, which I know full well, to not educate black children.
Well, why the hell don't
When,
the parents sit on the other side of the table and teach them?
because they are being told that the ignorance that is there, that they can't be educated. They're being told that there's
Okay,
not enough money.
if I say you stupid MF, go out there in the middle of that Detroit bridge going to Cannon and jump off the damn thing. You think he's supposed to do it?
I'm telling you that there is a concerted effort within a political party to keep people ignorant and illiterate, and they can be controlled.
This is
And when 25,
2025, the 21st century.
yes,
These
it is.
ignoramuses are watching all of this stuff on video, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They're sitting there looking at videos. They can't go anywhere without a communication device. And you mean to tell me that these stupid morons can't use these devices to self teach how to read and something about the world? Hell, they don't need to know how. If they're that
They are
stupid,
graduating. They are graduating children in Michigan who cannot read the
so the
diploma that they were
parents let
given.
them do that.
Their parents, if they have one, I'm going to preface it
So
again.
who birthed them?
If they have a parent in the home, a lot of children in certain urban communities are in foster care,
Okay,
and
fine. And that's not the
and they,
majority of them. They aren't in foster care.
there are some cities, Pontiac is one of them, that have a large
They
majority of
have
black
it's
children.
not a majority in foster care. There's a large number, but they're not the majority.
There's a large number
There's a
of
large
black
number of
children
black children in foster
in
care.
foster care
So
in many of the urban
why
communities.
do we promise these breeders a nice check if they go ahead and get knocked up with children they can't afford to raise, have no clue as to how to raising, are too ignorant and stupid to raise? So why do we keep voting for a party that says we will let you do this? And take your tax dollars and your neighborhood is gone to hell. It's full of high crime. There's no job market there for anybody. Nobody wants to come. You're going to rely on this perpetual excuse of you getting picked on. Oh, I guess you like being bullied. Well, stand up and be a man or a woman and deal with getting your own rights. And by the way, is somebody going to buy a copy of the Constitution, go online, Google the damn thing, or get the free copies they give out in the mall and read it? It takes about 30 seconds to read Article 1 of the Constitution that says censuses are conducted every 10 years for the primary purpose of apportioning representation in Congress. And if this was not allowed, where you did not count anybody who was not a citizen of this country in the census, California, Illinois, Michigan, New York, New Jersey would lose about 10 congressmen.
and that
I
would
agree.
diminish their
I
import in
agree.
there. They don't want people in here to replace Negroes. They want stupid plantation Negroes who will keep voting for the slave party, but not
I
recruiting from
and
King
how do
Cotton,
you keep
but
them? And
Queen
how do you
Rainbow.
keep them stupid? You
Because they
don't
make
educate
themselves
them.
stupid. You don't have to
Yeah.
educate anybody in the 21st century. They can self educate. They pride themselves on being able to move grams, use scales, sell drugs, to do rap, and to come up with interesting rhymes. They can do all of that. So they can't do anything to deal with making a living in the world and have some kind of thing where they don't ideate on being criminals, where somebody will tell you with a straight face, it's racism, it's white supremacy, because all black folk, we criminals. What the hell is wrong with that?
So
That
I,
is the
I
silliest thing I've ever heard
I'm
in my
just
life.
I'm sharing with you the data.
yeah, can you send me that,
So
Linda?
yeah,
Can you send it to me? I would love to read
yeah,
that. Please send it to me.
yeah.
How many
I
black
will do that.
representatives in the black caucus, congressional caucus, come out of Michigan?
I don't know, but I know
How
their
many black?
convention is this week, and that's a good thing to look
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
Michigan produces a lot of black congressmen and women. So why don't
There was only one, and he's a Republican. John James is the only black congressman
Really?
out of Michigan. John James, and he's a
that's all you
Republican.
have out of Michigan is one black person?
One black.
Who's the
Yes.
mayor of
But he's
Detroit?
not in the. He's not. He don't represent the
Uh,
district with the high
Mike Duggan
illiteracy
is
rate.
a white Democrat mayor of Detroit. White Democrat mayor of Detroit. We haven't had a black mayor in a very long time.
What is the population of Detroit?
Used to be over 1 million. Now it's close to 500,000.
Why did it get
Oh, y'all barely
depopulated?
about to be a state anymore.
So depopulation. There was a lot of um building up of downtown Detroit. So they're doing the gentrification is a lot. But they're moving people out of the city proper who cannot afford to live in the newly renovated Detroit. And then you have people not moving into the city because of the crime and the cost of living there. It's not affordable to live there.
So that sounds like the typical story in every place in America run by the blues, and every large urban area in America is run by the blues. So the blues are what they are because they've got plantation hearted Negroes that are around supporting them.
All right.
In essence, yes. So
Judge,
just
there's a
an
large
example.
Chaldean population there. I have a lot of colleagues in this in the space I'm in, and they
Yes,
operate and run the city. They're in a large proportion of administrative roles in the city, and they are large property holders and business owners in the
Yes,
city.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I don't
so
have anything to dispute that. But
Judge,
I'm the
we have the bishop of the Church of God in Christ,
so what?
J. Drew Sheard, in Detroit,
So
and he came out with a letter. The Church of God in Christ supported pro-life, and they issued a letter that the Church of God in Christ is pro-life, but yet he personally endorsed Kamala Harris, who is not pro-life. And so you got um this conflicting priorities, and you've got this schizophrenia in how things are done here in Michigan. You've got people
Peter, can
who
you stop
operate.
rotating people because you're bringing people up and dropping the wrong person down? And I sent you a message on that.
okay. Look,
I
go
just
ahead
brought up
back.
Sherelle. That's the only one I
Yeah,
brought up.
no, because you dropped Bishop down when he's not to be dropped down.
I
So
didn't. I
just let
didn't
her
drop.
sit for a
I
minute.
did not drop
All
Bishop.
right,
I
well
did
then just
not.
just
Okay, okay.
don't. I will handle bringing people
Okay,
up. Just
okay,
stop.
gotcha.
Just don't bring nobody up right now.
Okay, back to the Church of God in Christ. So the Church of God in Christ endorses, well, the bishop endorses Kamala Harris.
Yes,
Okay,
who's not pro-life, and yet they came out as pro-life. The whole Church of God in Christ
and what's that
across
got
the
to do with
nation.
the way the average black person or
It
Negro
it
votes
is
up in Detroit?
it is the way that people vote contrary to what they claim in their faith. That is some of the problem in the community, where you are supporting death, you are voting for death, and you say you're pro-life. That was the level of hypocrisy, as far as I'm
Okay,
concerned.
in other words, the choice, the way in the black community works now, is prenatal or postnatal abortion. Postnatal abortion is the drive-by, the drug overdose, the murder during the course of a robbery, the insanity of street violence sometimes. That's what I call postnatal abortion. Somebody getting the death penalty and getting juiced, fried, or chilled with the chemicals. That's what I call postnatal abortion.
Okay.
So you have abortion all around. It's dangerous being in a Negro community because they don't know how to act black. They're a bunch of dogs in a kennel. And people are running around talking about murder is normal. You got idiots talking about, what is it, Chicago, DC, Memphis? You don't want the National Guard because you want the crime to continue because crime is synonymous with black
And
folk.
again, that's exactly what I'm saying, is that there is a political party of death
And
that,
you got damn fool Negroes from Chicken George Sharpton who claims to be a preacher without a damn pulpit to preach from.
come on
Oh,
now.
he was a preacher when he was 8 years old. And what kind of damn fool congregation will listen to an 8-year-old preacher?
All right, I need to get to some.
See,
We have a couple of new
you got
Thank you.
speakers.
stuck on stupid. By the
Slick
way,
hair shot.
yeah, Sharpton's a Chicken George idiot. But anyway, bottom line is we do it to ourselves.
All right, I want to get. I got to
Judge,
get to
it's funny
Spice.
because we
Wait, one
just read.
second, Peter. Just 1 second. 1 second. I have to get to new speakers. It's getting late, and I'm not about to be up here all night. So we cannot have these long, drawn out, back and forth conversations. Go ahead, Spice. Is Spice still up here?
No.
Yes, Spice. Can you unmute?
Oh, spiced.
Spice.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just listening along. I mean, you guys can continue to talk.
Okay, well, we're going to drop you down since you're just listening.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
That was
Sojourner.
crazy.
Sojourner.
Yeah, he need better Wi-Fi.
So it's Shauna. I just want to say
I'm sorry. How you
that
pronounce that again?
it's Shauna. It's
Shauna.
Swedish.
Shauna.
I just want to say, so me and my husband, I'm white, he's black. We have 2 children of our own. We adopted 8. All 8 children that we adopted were over the age of 9 when we adopted them. All of them were black, the ones that we adopted, and none of them could read. All of them graduated from college and high school in the same year, because at the time in the state of California, and because we didn't have a lot of money because we was raising way too many kids, we decided that they could go to college for $2 for each credit, and the books were free. I'm just going to say that if you take responsibility for your own children, then they can learn anything. I can tell you, my husband worked. He worked a regular, like, he was a trash guy, so he didn't make tons of money. I cleaned houses for a living. I literally would take all 10 of my children with me to every house cleaning, set them down on a floor, at a table, wherever I could, and I would educate them why I clean. So if you want your kids to be smart, there's no excuse. If you decide that you're going to be a parent, it's your job to raise those kids at whatever task it takes. Now, at this time, all of my kids are ranged between the age of 32 and 28. And I will tell them every single one of them own their own business. And every single one of them have now gone on to adopt more children that they take their kids to work too. So if you're going to be a parent, you have to take responsibility for your kids. Leaving it up to the schools and to other people to raise your kids, and then you're going to say that you go to church, that's not what God said. God said raise your children. That's all I have to say.
Hey, thank you and congratulations for what you've done and what you've accomplished in life, you and your husband. Now, doesn't it make you angry after you made all these sacrifices to see some little scofflaw idiot decide she's going to get her sexual jollies flat back and have 8, 9 different kids by 5 and 6 baby daddies, can't afford one of them, and you have to get your taxes spent on paying for her having a good sex life? Now, doesn't that make you angry?
Judge,
It
you're
do-
cooking tonight.
it does make me very angry. It makes me angry when people don't want to take responsibility for their own kids and just
Thank you.
handle them. Like if there's a will, there's a way. And I will tell you, I my husband used to say this to my children all the time. Show me the one white person that's holding you down. Because if he's not standing right there holding you down with a rope or a chain or something, then there's no white person holding you down. Only yourself is holding you down.
Judge, I wish you were in the last space before this, because we literally, this was the topic of the conversation, and all we heard from one side was that white supremacy and that white people are the cause for all the issues in the black community because they instituted a culture of poverty that kept everyone down and continues to keep them down, and that actually white people are the problem in the country because of the crime, that there's a major crime problem in the country, and that it's all perpetrated by whites mainly.
Black folks
That,
speak in systemic terms. That's systemic. I want everybody to understand what they're talking about. When Black Americans speak about white supremacy and racism, that is the system that was put in place by white America. Yes, white
okay,
America, you
now
are to blame.
let me ask you a
So
question.
Yeah,
I'm
Malcolm
sorry,
X
but
said that
that's
was a
just the truth.
liberal white
Let me
man.
ask you a question. How do you explain the large urban areas that are predominantly governed by black folk to be where they are? Is that white supremacy too?
Judge, now here's what I'm going to say to that. I understand when there's a black majority city and you got a large black population and you got some leadership that's black. But remember, the people who control the dynamics around all of that, which means the money and the laws and everything else that comes with it, are not us. We don't control
Well,
anything in this country.
hold
Black
on a
America
second.
controls nothing.
Yes, we do. And the laws come from us
What do
too.
we control, Judge? Do we
Have you ever
control
heard? Wait a minute.
corporations?
Hold on. Hold on.
Do we
Hold on.
control the system?
Hold on. Hold on.
What
Hold
do
on.
Black America
Hold on.
control?
Hold on.
Okay,
Hold on.
all right.
Hold on. There are a number of Fortune 500 companies that have black CEOs. The law. Okay, you've heard of reasonable doubt, haven't you?
I have.
Okay. Tennessee has a suggested pattern jury instruction to give to the jurors explaining what reasonable doubt is. I wrote it 30 some years ago. All right, there's another one on circumstantial evidence. There's somebody black that wrote that. They give that through the whole state of Tennessee. So that's at least two of the vital charges that juries will have to consider when they determine whether somebody is guilty or not guilty. And that didn't come from white folk. So, I mean, the law is like the rule book. The NBA used to be one of the most racist organizations in the United States. Now, if you look at a basketball game, you're looking with black folk playing, and they invited a few white folk to get in there with them. So it's the same organization, it's the same rule book, but some things have changed. So are we talking about black folk had nothing to do with the input of the National the National Basketball Association?
Well, there's no black
Okay, good.
owners.
Well, there
There you go.
There's
Magic
no,
Dana
well,
just
hold
Johnson.
on
said
for a
it.
second, Professor Black, and
M-
there's no
I'm sorry.
black owners on the
Magic
NFL as
Johnson.
well. Can I just speak for 2 seconds?
Go
There's
ahead.
no black owners in the NBA. There's no black owners in the NFL. And if a black person,
Yes, there is. Just so you
There
know.
are a
Yes,
few.
Yeah,
ma'am.
no,
there
there is
are.
not. No, there
Magic
is
Yes,
not.
Johnson.
Magic
yes, ma'am. They
Johnson.
are.
They own
Magic
Condoleezza
percentages.
Johnson.
Rice.
Hold on, everyone. There's not a black owner in the NBA or the NFL. If you saying yes, they are. What is that person name?
Magic Johnson.
Yep.
He is not an
He
owner.
own a percentage.
He
He
is
owns
not
a
an
very
owner.
he
He
was
is
Condoleezza.
not the owner,
he
and he
was
actually
he
gave up.
sold.
He sold his percentage already.
Yes, so he
He is
gets
not an
income
Condoleezza
from
Rice
it.
owner.
owns. Condoleezza Rice
Let me
owns
say
it.
it again for the
Oh
room.
God.
He is
Condoleezza
not
Rice
an
owns it.
owner.
Okay,
There's
Okay,
no
look.
but
black owners in the NBA
Okay,
or the
look.
NFL.
Okay, look.
There is a
Condoleezza
club.
Look.
Rice.
Let me talk because you talk and I didn't interrupt.
Yeah, well,
There is no black
get your
owners in the
facts straight.
NFL. All the owners of the NFL, that is a club that they do not allow other people to come in because they have to agree for you to be an owner or to even be in partnership with one of the groups. And they
So
don't want nobody black there. So to your point,
time
Judge,
out. The
I'm
point is
listen, I will
Magic
drop you the
Johnson.
speaker and mute you if
Okay,
you keep interrupting me.
I am
Stop
interrupting
interrupting
you
me because
because
I
you're
have not
talking.
disrespected
Dana,
you and interrupted
Dana,
you.
Dana,
Let me
stop
finish what
interrupting.
I
You're
was
not.
saying.
I was in there
Let me
first,
finish
so
what
you
I
jumped
was
in on me.
saying.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. There's no black owners in the NFL or the NBA. The NFL, that is a collective group that they have to vote for a person to be an owner or to even come in on a team and be part owner. So if they don't invite you in, they can say, we don't want that person or we want this person. But to your point to Professor Black, what you were saying to him was correct. But also what he's talking about is, yes, you have to wear you have this integration of these, for example, these sports teams to now is predominantly black. Okay, that's as an employee on a lower level. But black people getting into these positions on a top level, when we're talking about C-suites and we're talking about actual owners in these corporations such as NBA and NFL, family legacies, they do specifically exclude black. And if you look at the history of America, when we talk about the railroads, when we're talking about the banking system, going all the way back to the 19th century, when we're talking about the gold rush, they monopolized certain industries and you don't see a black face there. Even though we had black millionaires, but it was never part of the systems that help run and create this nation. So that is where we talk about white supremacy is systemic.
So,
Okay, and
so
it
the
goes
Negroes.
so
Thank you,
damn
Dana,
very
because that's
low.
exactly what I was talking about. Dana just
Okay,
broke it down
okay,
right
okay.
there.
Well, I'll
We
break it
don't
down
we
further.
don't have ownership
I'll
in the
break it down
NBA.
further.
We
I'll
don't have
break it.
ownership in the NFL. We don't have ownership in those Fortune 500 companies. We don't own the criminal justice system. We don't own the healthcare system. White people, you got to stop saying that there's no white supremacy, because it is. Because guess what? Black folks are being locked out of those opportunities to be in the top
Okay.
echelon
Right,
of
to
this
be at the top.
So
So
country.
you look at yourself
let
as
me push back
inferior,
with you,
don't you?
Professor, for a second. Let me push back with you. So you're right, to be at the top echelon, they intentionally leave out black folk or black people who can be up there or who want to invest up there. But that's still no excuse for you not to educate your kid, go to the library. It's
Oh, I agree
free.
with that. Oh, I agree
Yeah,
with that,
so
Dan.
even on a with among the rest of us Americans, the rest of us regular folk of all backgrounds, there's no excuse to where your child should not be reading on said level at all. There's no excuse to where, your child is being kept back or being pushed to the next grade without even knowing the work. So it's no excuse on that level. So we're talking about two different tiers here. So it's like
Okay.
on the top tier, yeah, they're excluding that type of upper echelon
Okay.
C suites. But on the lower tier, that second tier, we do have the culpability to progress.
Okay. Describe the ownership cadre of the Dodgers, the Lakers, and the Rams.
What about it?
Well, I mean, if somebody's black in the mix, you're part of the ownership
Nobody's
cadre.
black in the mix.
Oh, Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson is not an owner.
He
And
was.
Michael Jordan's an owner too.
Yeah.
Michael
Also,
Jordan sold
Yeah.
his
Well,
part
look. Do
ownership.
you get it?
well,
So
he's
so
in
again,
the middle of
so
it, but he
again,
was one
and
of them.
he's not. Hold on.
Oh,
Michael
God.
Jordan, it was never a full 100. Michael Jordan was not Jerry
To the
Jones.
Wizards?
So let's stop. Let's get our head
Look
out our
here. If you
asses
Yeah, the
get
here.
an
Wizards.
interest in a
Michael Jordan does
profitable
not
business,
own. He
if
didn't
you
have the ownership
that's
like the
got
owner of the
that's
Atlanta
got
Falcons.
nothing
So
to do with the
if you want
business.
to talk about two black men who own, well, Magic Johnson only owned at one point maybe 15% of Dodgers and Lakers. He sold his portion. He was never the majority owner. He was never even the majority investor on the board. Now, Michael Jordan sold his portion, his ownership of the Charlotte Hornets, and he was never 100% the owner. So again, the point that I'm fucking making here
Oh
is when we're
God.
talking about a group of an organization such as the NFL and the NBA They intentionally lock out black people to be owners or to create their own team and own it. They do lock you out at that top level.
Charles Barkley also owns.
Yeah.
Charles
Well,
Barkley
bring
don't
back
own
today's
shit.
young
He
lady.
don't even have
Look,
a wing.
the
So
game
stop.
is
Just stop.
the
Investing,
In New
deal.
York,
being
the
an
Nets.
investor, Sherelle,
Jana,
does not
stop
make you
talking
an
over
owner.
everybody and
So
give other
stop.
people a chance to talk.
Stop thinking that there's no black people on that
The point,
level
look,
that has ownership.
have you ever heard of buy, sell, trade, which is how big businesses run? Sometimes you buy, sometimes you own, sometimes you sell, sometimes you
Buying
trade.
and owning, being
The
an
point
investor and
is
being an owner are two
Magic
different
Johnson.
things.
Magic Johnson had a significant share of
No,
several
he
teams.
did not.
I
And now
know
he
the
has
man
nothing.
personally.
Now
He
he
used to
sold
come
it.
over to my
He's
house.
not an owner.
He used to
He's
come to
not
my
an
house.
owner.
He
He's
was
The
not
point
an
is,
owner.
I
the
I'm
used
point
to
sorry
go
to
is,
to
bust
the
your little
parties they
bubble.
gave.
I'm sorry
Now,
to bust your
bottom line
Hollywood bubble,
is,
but he's not an
the
owner.
bottom line is
I
he
will say
sold
this:
some
one
of
of
No,
the
the
I
pieces
don't
of
want you to say
legislation.
anything because I haven't gotten to you yet.
Oh,
And I'm
God.
just like, y'all
What are
want to
you
sit up here.
trying to
You want
do?
to wait. If you want to sit up here, if you want to sit up here and say that because at one point Magic Johnson owned a portion of the Dodgers, and at one point Michael Jordan owned probably 51% of the Charlotte Hornets, then there's no such thing as white supremacy. So then all of black people who want to be on that
When
level
you
can
say
be
the
there.
word
Give
white,
me a break.
when you say the word or use the term white supremacy, you put supremacy in it, and your subconscious is
No,
designating
it's not in
you.
my subconscious.
Well,
No, it's not.
excuse me.
So
I'm
please miss me with
sorry.
that. No, you can't
When
put that
you
trick back on
use
me.
when
No, that
you
doesn't work with me.
use the
That doesn't work
term,
with me.
excuse
You know
me.
what white supremacy
Well,
is?
excuse
White
me.
supremacy is the British Empire that went into
White
India
supremacy
and
does
disarmed them and colonized them.
white
That's white
supremacy
supremacy.
bullshit. Now,
That is white
Don't let
supremacy.
the
ER
Indian
hear that.
Army is one of the largest in the world. It has more nukes than the British government. It is a former
I'm
colony,
not
and if
talking
there
about
was
in
a set to,
2025. I'm talking
talking
when the
about
British
right
ruled the
now.
damn world.
Okay,
When they were
fine.
the most powerful
Fine.
empire, they
And
went into India,
and when the
disarmed them, and colonized them.
and when the
Colonization
Normans
is
invaded,
white supremacy.
and when the
Are
Normans
you
inv-
telling me,
and
Judge,
when
that
the Normans
colonization is not white
stop talking
supremacy?
over me. Be
Answer
courteous.
my question.
Be
Is
courteous.
colonization white supremacy?
Well, yes and no.
Thank
And
you.
it
No,
doesn't.
no, it
Then
is.
you explain when.
It is.
Excuse me. You don't know what
No,
my
you
point is.
excuse. It's late.
Well, listen.
You're
I
really
don't
excused for
go
the
to
night.
sleep on being free. I don't get tired of trying to be free. You do. I don't. Now
No,
listen.
I don't have
Listen.
that issue. Again, you
Listen.
can't run that game on me because I
Listen.
don't run
I'm
around
not
here
running
toting the word
game on
white
it.
supremacy.
But if you
I
want to
know
talk
what white
about it,
supremacy really is, and I know what it's
1066.
not. So I don't need that
1066.
explanation.
Some
But when
trans.
I'm conveying to you and others
What is my
that
point?
it is such thing as white supremacy,
What is
but
my
it's on
point?
a different level.
What is my point? You don't know because you haven't
You don't
let
have
me
a
state
point
it.
right
I
now,
have one.
and I don't need to
The
understand your
point
point
is this.
because
It is,
I have an
you don't
understanding
need
of what
to,
white
so
supremacy
belabor
is.
your ignorance, woman.
No, I'm not ignorant.
Oh,
You're
you're
just
ignorant
upset
because you
the
lack
fact
the
that I'm not going to
knowledge.
sit up here and agree and be
You
going
don't
on with the
have
get
to
along
agree.
game here.
You're blocking other people who
No,
might
I'm not
want the
blocking other people for
information.
nothing.
Then
I
why
don't
don't
run
you let
around
them
here
hear it?
looking at
Why
myself as
don't
a
you let
victim.
them
I
hear
don't
it?
run around here saying
Well,
that,
let
oh,
them
white
hear the
supremacy is holding me
information.
back. I don't have that mentality.
England,
But I do know what white
England,
supremacy means. I
England,
do know the definition of it.
England,
And I can give you
England.
examples of it just
I
like I
don't
did
look.
pertaining to the NBA and the
Excuse
NFL.
me. Yeah, I know. Now
And
back
I
to this
also
issue.
agree with you on what you were saying to Professor Black.
Okay,
So don't
now
act like I'm
let me
standing up here
make the goddamn
disagreeing with
point.
you, but don't talk to me like
Will
I don't
you
know what I'm
stop
talking
a
about either.
second? Just stop. The
Yeah,
point
I need
is
to get
this.
to the next
The
speaker.
point is this one. When India was colonized and subjugated by Great Britain, that was just 300 or 400 years after the Normans, who were a Viking offshoot, had come in and kicked the Saxons in the ass and practically enslaved them.
The
So you
purpose
got
of
an
colonization
Anglo-Saxon.
is
Why don't
supremacy.
you let me
It
finish?
is white supremacy. No, because
So
I
how
really
do
want
you
to get to the next
explain
speaker. I
the
don't need a history
Saxons,
lesson right
Robin
now,
Hood,
Judge.
and England
I
and
don't
all
need
of
a
that and
history
being
lesson.
subjugated? Why not?
I know what white
Why
supremacy
not?
means.
So do you
I know
consider
what white
yourself
supremacy means.
inferior?
I don't need you to
Do you
I don't need
consider
you to try
yourself
and tell me what it it is.
Do you
I don't need an
consider yourself
understanding. I don't need
inferior?
you to explain it to me because I
So
already
why do
know.
you
So
use the
let's
term
move on to the
superior?
next
Why do
speaker.
you put white supremacy and say they're supreme
I
over
don't put white
inferior
supremacy in
beings? Then
anything.
why do you
So
use
stop
that
trying to put
term?
words in my mouth because I
Why
never
don't you
said that.
just use
I said
oppression,
I know what it means.
imperialism,
That's all.
instead of using the
I
term
said
they
I know
came
what it
up with
means.
to brainwash
You want
the
to have a last
weak
word? Go
and
ahead. But
mind?
I'm
No,
about to get
I'm.
to the next speaker. William is next. Then it's
Oh,
Sherelle.
damn.
Then it's Tell the
Never
Truth.
mind. Never mind. Never
Yeah,
mind.
never
Go
mind.
ahead.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Hey
William.
Judge, hey Dana, hey Judge, hey Dana, long time
Yeah.
no see.
Okay.
So that was intense. But that's what I love. That's what I love about listening to these things. I'm sorry that I haven't done it in so long. But I really do have a. So I guess I have two questions, like I usually do. So for one is I just want the quick summary of the comparison and contrast between Dana and the judge's take on the Charlie Kirk assassination, and I'm wondering if the judge and Dana would join me and Cynthia McKinney for a conversation on my program about the MLK assassination, which the judge did stuff with Cynthia on, and and the Charlie Kirk stuff and just political assassinations in general.
Okay. No problem.
Dana, real quick, I've had my hand up since like way back when we were talking about
Yeah, go
that.
ahead, Adam.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I know. It was getting a little heated, so you might have forgot the order, but it's okay. Uh, I was just gonna say, in regards to the hit where it came from, somebody said something kind of logical, and they said, "Watch the shoulders. If you get hit from the front, the shoulders go forward, right? If you get hit from the back, the shoulders are going to go back. So that's one thing right there. But I did want to hit on the basically the UN. I think it's the remnants of the Nazi Germany, and this is all basically you got Operation Paperclip proving that a lot of these people went into like key positions within Europe and built up the UN. That's the way I see it. They're globalists with globalist agendas, just like Hitler was and Marx. Same fruit from the same tree uh, of Marxism and communism and socialism. You know, the thing was same thing with Trotsky and Stalin and Lenin. They yeah, you had the Rothschilds there. You had a whole bunch of other families there. So the thing is also like I'd say one thing in regards to what you guys were talking about a little bit here. It's more or less rather than just white supremacy. I'd say it would be, and I'm not trying to poke at anyone. I'm just saying it would be these special groups, and I believe that they're esoteric people. And I'm going into the Bill Cooper stuff because I sat and watched a year worth of Mystery Babylon, where they go into the esoteric all the way back to the School of Cairo and the Roshaniyas, the Hashashins, the Knights Templar, and so on and so forth. As far as that stuff goes. And the UN also, the meditation chamber or I guess it's a meditation chamber or room in New York has a basically a black rock, and like the way the room is built. I could post a picture in the little purple pill. That's a red pill, right? But the way they designed it and the things within the painting that's behind the black rock, and you look at the company name Black Rock. Larry Fink is over taking Klaus Schwab's position at the WEF, for God's sake. So there's a lot of people that aren't of white, black, you know different colors, different races, different religions, different governments. That's what I personally believe. I might sound a little crazy, but that's fine. I don't mind because I've done my research on, the history of this and how it even led into Nazism, inspired it through the esoteric by Madame Blavatsky, who wrote about this esotericness, and Hitler picked up that ideology as well from also from what's his name, Marx. And a
Marx.
lot of these people were influenced by the Rothschilds. Jacob A. Schiff went over to, get Marx to basically write Das Kapital, all this stuff. So yeah, I'm really tired. I've been up since 5 a.m. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I've been waiting to spit those pieces out. But just also when you watch the video once again, pay attention to the shoulders, which direction they go. Imagine, you get impacted from the front, your shoulders are going to move to the front. If you're impacted from the back, your shoulders are going to move to the back. So I'd say when you watch that video, pay attention to that. That'll tell you a lot. And one theory is, that's I've listened to from a person that I kind of trust. I trust them in quite a bit, but what he said, that there was a plate. It's not like really a vest that you would be able to see or anything like that. Kind of blends in. It's a plate, and when it would hit the top end of the plate, and you kind of see the plate pull up. When he gets impacted in the front, you'll see the top. If you're looking at it, it would be the top right corner kind of pulls up that plate. And then that's where I think the piece of the metal, as it was explained to me, a shrapnel or whatever, not shrapnel, but whatever it's called, went and entered the neck, bounced around the body. And, that's why I believe he may have died, pretty quickly and painlessly. So yeah,
Okay.
that's what I've gathered from what I've listened to people. I'm not really big on when it happened right away to look at these things. Kind of wanted to take a little bit of time, but and let things the 72-hour rule, right? All right. Well, thank you so much. Good night and God
I'm
bless
gonna
you
send
all.
you a video, Adam. I sent this video to Lamar as well, but I'm gonna send it to you as well.
But definitely look at the shoulders. Everything else is conjecture.
Hey, so
Okay.
I just wanted to confirm. So Dana and the judge would join Cynthia and me for that Kirk MLK Israel discussion.
Where's this gonna be held at?
It can be on your show. It can be on. I really don't care who platforms it, honestly.
Oh, you don't have a platform.
No, I have a platform, but if you want to have it, because again, the judge and Cynthia.
All right, send me a message. Send me a message. Just send me a DM message, and then we'll talk about it. Then I can't talk about that right now. So just message me, and I'll reply back to you. Is Sherelle still up here? Is Sherelle? Then tell the truth.
Sherelle, you're up.
Okay. We gotta backtrack slightly because I know you jumped onto that other subject, and I was gonna answer the lady that was talking about Detroit first, then I'll go back to the NBA, and then I'll go back to. Okay.
Go ahead.
I know
Go
there's
ahead,
some
please.
situations going on in Detroit that are significantly impacting the communities over there. I know the school
I'm sorry. Are you
systems.
eating? Are you eating? Are you chewing on something?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Are
we
you chewing
can.
on? It sounds like you're eating.
I drink a swig of water. Why? What's going on?
Okay, yeah, because we can hear as you swallowing, we can hear the digestion.
Oh
That
my
sounds like
god!
issues. Yeah, we
Sorry.
can hear all that.
It was a lot of lip smacking.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Oh my
Sounds like
god.
you're
I'm
enjoying
sorry.
it. Sounds like you're enjoying it.
Okay, well, back to Detroit. God, got me all distracted. Okay, anyway. Oh Lord Jesus. Whew. Okay.
You're talking about Detroit. Go ahead.
Yes, Detroit. Yeah, I know there's a lot of things that are going on over there that I know that need to be highlighted, in that their school systems and the children that go there. you guys need investment in your school systems. It's absolutely true. You need, assistance with making sure that there's investment in your housing initiatives and things like that for your development of your communities. And there's some other things that are going on as far as the quality of living conditions, and community policing things, situations of that nature, that also we should be paying attention to. And there's other detailed things that sometimes uh, get overlooked, right? But I think having spent a substantial amount of time over the summer, this past summer, looking at different communities and looking at their different needs, I think being a community voice, or at least being trying to ensure that that information gets to the right people so that the right things happen the way that it should, so that we're running transparent government and holding the right systems in place to allocate the right funds. It's all about getting into the right rooms and having conversations and sitting at the table to get those kinds of things done. I know your governor, who has been actively working on different initiatives, surely should be communicated with a lot more than she has been in the past, so that the things that are going on at on the front lines of different social justice issues get at her desk and on her table, so that there's adequate resources going and being allocated in the right directions. Um, okay, now, as far as the NBA, I know there's ownership discussion. One of my ideas for a piece of legislation for that, though, to address different folks who might be living in different communities across the nation, is to put a piece of legislation that allows for development of different stadiums and maintaining stadiums and resources, et cetera, to those who want to do that in their communities, to allow for that to happen, but also for community business opportunity zones to be built within your communities as well. So that way, if you are a small business owner or a business owner that is looking to also participate in this process, you would be able to be issued grants that would provide you the funding you would need in order to set up your company nearby those stadiums that were being built. And so that way it would bring in some economic stimulation through communities that wouldn't necessarily have that kind of stimulation. And then there would also be a separate fund that would be allocated for those who do have stadiums already in, but maybe need additional funds to maintain some of the hardship or economic hardship that occurred, that kind of shifted their area, as far as some kind of hardship that has happened over time, just from, there's still some long-standing issues that were going on due to the pandemic. But I think if we have credible opportunities like that, that would really bring in not only a creation of a ton of jobs, but also just a ton of just up and down the ladder funds and stimulation that I think a lot of people will enjoy. I mean, people love going to sports games and things like that. Why not support them in a way that allows them to not only go and attend the games they love enjoying, and watching the competitions they love enjoying, but also being able to have an economic investment into the things that they're doing as well. So that would be something that I think that would be sustainable, and a solution-oriented way to bring out some really positive outcomes to situations that would have otherwise been overlooked, or not an opportunity for folks that would not necessarily gotten it. So hopefully that solves it.
May I respond, Dana, to the comment about Michigan?
Go ahead.
So, and thank you for the comment. The governor, Gretchen Whitmer, is fully aware of the challenges to the state and the issues, but she is compliant, complicit, and part of the problem. And what I see in the differences between the political groups and the mindsets and the worldviews that people have is that we have too much social justice and not enough social order. And what we're seeing in places like Chicago, people want social order. And not just social justice. And that is the difference between the political ideologies, these geopolitics that we're seeing, is that you've got social justice to the point where there is no order. And you've got high crime, illiteracy, and not an attractive situation. We had 3 companies pull their pledges from building in Michigan, primarily because the business climate is bad and there is not enough educated people. Children are not educated. We have an illiteracy issue around these particular urban communities that they want to build in, and they can't find the workforce. And so we're not an attractive state because we're not an educated. We're 44th in the nation of education, and we don't have a great workforce. And 57.7% of the people that have new population, 57.7% are non-citizens. And so our population is dying on the vine. It's getting older. There is a significant decrease in birth rates in the state. And as the judge said, or someone said, or maybe Dana said, that a majority of our congressional seats would have been gone had they not included illegals in our, or non-citizens in our census.
I said that.
Yes, our census would definitely have much fewer congressional representation because 57.7% of our population growth are non-citizens. And so the governor is complicit. She is one of the reasons why we have a problem. She's a terrible leader. And every social justice issue she's tried to go has been targeted toward white women and LGBTQ plus individuals. Black folks did not even benefit from DEI here in Michigan. We are not on the top of the food chain when it comes to liberal agendas. We are at the bottom. And Dana, I did post some of the articles so that you could be able to see those.
Yeah, I wanted you to inbox it to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't.
If you can, if it's not too much trouble.
Okay. I'll see if
But
I
thank
can
you for
figure out
putting
how
it
to
down in there. So if you don't have time to, but thank you for putting it in
You're
the
welcome.
box. Yeah. All right. So we got 2 more speakers, Tell the Truth and the Queen Bee, and then that's gonna be it. So go ahead, Tell the Truth. Is she still up here? Yeah, Tell the Truth. Are you still there? Tell the Truth. You muted. You gotta unmute.
You gotta unmute, Tell the Truth. Tell the truth. We want to hear the truth. Tell it to us. Tell
All
us
right,
the truth.
let's go to Queen Bee.
Good evening, everyone. Hey, Miss Dana, long time no talk to. Judge,
How are you?
I'm blessed. Thank you for asking. So I just wanted to speak to the 2 hot topics. First, with the Michigan, your governor is very corrupt, extremely corrupt. But you guys have a very large budget. And one of the recommendations that I would make to you is because when they put laws through your state, it is attached to taxpayers' money. It is attached to the money. That's how your budget is built out. One of the things that I recommend you do is backtrack the money into the educational system where it's supposed to go. Because I saw you put an article down there about a literacy program to the organization that it was connected to, and then put a complaint into the Department of Justice for the funds not being used for the purpose in which they were supposed to be used. You can not only do that for your Department of Education, but you can do that for the Department of Housing, also all of the medical services. If you get the federal level involved, because they have to be completely transparent with the money, it's almost like you create your own Doge system. And that will bring light into your state and turn some tables over to get some things done. The other thing that I would highly recommend that you do is every county in Michigan, I promise you, has done a diversity study. The cities have and the counties have. In those diversity studies, that's what they use to get the money for federal programs. You can also bring that to light and put reports into the Department of Housing on the federal level, the education and so forth. And that's how you can attempt to move some things around to get things done in your state. If you have any questions, I am very open to you DMing me. I'm here in Texas and I am the follow the money girl. So I can help you with that. The
All
other
right.
thing, thank you. The other thing, Miss Dana, you were not accurate in your ownership when it comes to the NFL and the NBA. Back in the day, that is true how it was set up. A minority owner does not dictate that they only have a small portion. Because of the financial economics when it comes to owning these teams, there is very few teams that are sole owner by family legacies. When they own about 25%, and it's usually about 25% that they try to keep in the family so that they can move money around into the business and also be the signers on the documents. That's it. The other 75% is distributed among minority owners. And there are a great deal of Black minority owners in the NFL and the NBA. I'll give you an example. The Charlotte Hornets. Two owners own 12.5%, which makes up the 25% so that they can do business. The other 75% is divided up among minority owners, and there's quite a few Black Americans that own it. And that's how most teams are set up right now.
Well, how many
And not
black?
only that,
Hold on. How many Black Americans? First of all, how many Black Americans are the minority? Because minority can mean women. Minority can mean
no,
someone who
not
is
not when it
non-Black
comes to the
that is not
business.
white.
Not
Who?
not when it comes to the business.
How many are Black American minority owners?
Okay, in the NFL right now, you have Venus and Serena Williams, who owns part of the Miami Dolphins. You
No, they
had
don't own
Magic.
part. They only own a small
They
percentage.
they own
So
them. They are
okay. So let me
minority owner.
hold on, because
I'm
you
trying to
wait.
answer
Hold
your
on. No,
question, babe, but you
no. Because you need clarity from what I was saying. Because the whole conversation was white supremacy. So if you want to be very technical to talk about numbers here and there, people with money, rich people, not wealthy, but even rich people, to get wealthier, they do invest in companies and corporations because these are corporations. So being an investor, and if you I have 10% stake in this company, so I'm a 10% owner or 15%, yeah, that will be considered minority, but your minority does not give you any type of controlling vote. You don't control it, you don't have a controlling vote, you can easily be bought out. So when you say minority owners, that's exactly what it is, minorities. And when I'm talking about white supremacy, and we gave an example of sports because the judge brought up the sports, and when I was saying there are no owners, no Black owners, and never have been any Black owners of an NFL or the NBA team, and that is a whole fact. There has never been an owner. There are a group of owners, such as the Jerry Jones, and I can't name the other ones, but they are they started as a family business. It is a corporation. It is a group that they have to invite you in and vote you in to be 50%, 51%, or create your own team. You have to be invited in to do so. And they do not invite Black person into it on that level. If there is a Black person that could come in with that type of money or that type of money backing. So when I say white supremacy and no Black ownership in an NFL and an NBA, I don't need to be technical with how many are the minority. There's no Black ownership. There is no Black person who has control of the NBA and the NFL team. There never have been, and that is intentional. Even if they wanted to, that group of owners, of white owners, would not allow it. That's what I was talking about. I don't need the numbers of how much Serena and her sister own with the Miami Dolphins. Yes, they invested. Mike Magic Johnson, he is a partner of the Dodgers, but he partnered with the Guggenheim baseball group. So he came in with a group, with an association that came in with millions of dollars. But he's not the controller of it. And he never will be. He does not have the last say. And so, again, there are no black owners in the NBA and the NFL, and that is intentional, and that is part of white supremacy. I don't understand why people just can't get that.
Dana, I was
Now,
gonna
are you
say
going to
too.
let me
I said,
respond? Excuse
Dana, I
me,
was
sir.
gonna
We
say.
were having a
Yeah, I just
conversation.
needed to
Can
make
you please
myself
respond?
clear.
Okay,
I
so
needed to
let
make
me
my
answer
I
your
needed to make
question.
myself clear
I
to the
said
fact
very
that hold
clearly,
on. I needed to make myself clear that conversation we were having. It was really me and the judge just going back and forth. But the premise of that conversation is there are no black ownership. That
I
means
understood you when
total
you said that, so let
control.
me answer your question.
No,
And
it
I
wasn't a
stated,
question. I wasn't asking a question. That's the whole point. I was not asking a question. I was stating a fact about white supremacy.
are you going to let me respond?
Not really, but go ahead. It's your time for the floor, but I don't need a person coming in here saying I wasn't accurate about something, and I was very
Because
accurate about
you were
white
not accurate.
supremacy.
You were not accurate.
Yes, I was.
And
So
I stated
okay,
very
you're
clearly
telling
when I
me,
started
listen,
talking.
Queen B, you're
I
telling me I
stated
wasn't
very
accurate.
clearly
You're telling me I wasn't
because what you
accurate.
stated was
You're telling me I wasn't accurate because you're telling me that there are a sprinkle of black people that are minority owners. And I'm telling you, I'm not talking about the minority. I'm talking about the majority. It is the difference. And the majority of ownership is not black owned. And what I'm saying is, what is it that you and other people don't understand with that? There's no majority black ownership in the NFL and the NBA. Now, if you have
Okay, but
numbers
came
to
up
show
with a
that,
solution.
please
Why are we
share.
arguing? But can we let it go because we already came up with a solution?
Sherelle, honey.
You don't think that's a solution?
I'm not
No.
sure
Did you
why
come
she's
up with
getting so
a
upset with
solution?
accurate.
Yes. But was that the solution in a private sector for a black person to come in here maybe 50 years from now? But I get your point, Sherelle, and I'm not saying that you were incorrect, but what I'm saying is we're talking about today in 2025. There has never been, nor or as it is today, a majority black ownership in the NFL or the NBA.
Actually, Dana, what I said when I started is you are correct. There has never been a majority owner, but there are very few majority owners and ownerships today
You mean
because of
minority
the
owners?
financial.
You said
There are
minority.
there are very few major owners that has only controlling shares by themselves because of the financial responsibility. That's why they have minority owners. You did not let me finish. You just went off
Listen,
the cuff.
but Queen B, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not, and this is what I'm saying. I don't want to have a back and forth because Jerry Jones, I'm giving him as an example. He probably have minority people, minority investors, if you want to say minority owners, but the buck stops with him. He created it. He made the Cowboys America's team. That is his. Yes, you have investors. That's what a smart business person will do. But when I'm talking about with white supremacy on that level, we're talking about the creme de la creme of the C-suites. There's no black faces there, and it's intentional to not have black faces there, because if it wasn't intentional, we would have several black completely controlled ownership, especially in baseball, because we had a baseball league and that could have been flipped into the majors, but that was completely decimated. So again, when I'm talking about white supremacy and the creme de la creme of the ownership, for example, with these sports league, they intentionally exclude black people to be controlling owners. That's it.
Well, how you gonna deal?
Under
Wait
Okay,
a
is
minute.
that
the
is
right
that
Wait.
why
Time
is
out.
a
IQ
Time
did
out.
what he
I,
Fact check.
mm.
How you gonna deal with Michael Jordan and the Hornets up until 2 or 3 years ago? He was the majority owner
that's what
until
I'm
he
trying to tell you,
sold.
And
Joe.
you
He
Joe, she
okay,
sold
won't
his
so
let me get it
interest.
out.
again,
Oh man,
Condoleezza
she
Michael
Rice
now
sits
she
Jordan,
on
hold
the
on for a
board
second.
of her
So
thing.
hold on, no, let me
she
respond to the
sold part of
judge
it.
because
So
he was coming. He was talking to me. Michael Jordan sold his portion of the Charlotte Hornets, but what was his portion?
he
Yes,
was
he
the
was the
majority.
controlling
No, he was the
owner,
majority
but he
owner
was a
until a
controlling
couple of years
owner by
ago.
51%.
That's all right. That's all that counts.
And that's fine. No, wait, again, Judge, again. So I'm disappointed and I'm surprised that you would sit up here and try to debunk the
Um,
whole premise of white supremacy
there
on the
I
shoulders of
debunk white
one black
supremacy
man
generally.
that just so happened to be the majority owner of an NBA team as of recent, and he sold that in 2023. So it's not a family
Well,
legacy. Just
hell,
because you see one black
wait a minute.
face
Time
in a
out.
predominantly
Time out.
black league, that doesn't mean
Time
white
out.
supremacy does not
When he
exist.
played
So
basketball
don't,
for the Lakers, he wasn't. It wasn't a 100%
he didn't
majority
play for
black.
the Lakers. Michael Jordan never played
I'm
for the
talking. I said
Lakers.
Magic Johnson. I'm talking about
Magic Johnson is not an owner of the Lakers.
part owner.
No, he's not.
Oh God, yes he is.
No, he's not. He had 15% and he sold it. So he has no affiliation with the Lakers. Now he is a partner with the Dodgers, but he's the minority. He's not the controller. It's Mark Carter.
I'm not gonna argue with him.
He doesn't
Hey,
own it and he doesn't control it. That's a white
I'm
man.
not gonna
And
argue.
hey,
then
Dana.
Magic
Hey,
Johnson came in. He came in under the Guggenheim Baseball Association partnership. So he has other partners. That's the only way that he got in.
Most of the teams have minority and majority owners. That's how
Yes,
they
and the
finance it.
majority owners who have the last say are fucking white. What is it that
It isn't
everyone don't
necessarily that
hey,
understand?
somebody
look,
They're
has a
white,
everybody.
say.
so they
Look,
get
everybody.
to
Dana is
say who
right.
the hell they want to come into the league.
Go check it
They
out.
say
Dana,
this person
Dana
can
is
come in and
absolutely
buy
right.
in. This person can
Dana's
Dana
come in
is
and
absolutely
buy
not
right.
in.
absolutely
Dana's
right. I
absolutely
work in
right.
the finance. She is not
She's not
absolutely
Yeah,
right.
she
absolutely
is
right.
No,
right.
she
Dana
is
is
not
absolutely right.
absolutely
It's only
right.
one. It's
There
only
is a
one dark
board
skinned
that runs
majority
the
owner
team.
in
There
NFL.
is a
It's one
board
dark
that runs
skinned
the
majority
team,
in
and the
NFL. His
board
name is Tony
controls the
Khan.
vote, not
His name is
a
Tony Khan.
individual.
Time out.
His name is Tony
Time
Khan.
out.
It's only one
Time out.
dark skinned melanated
That's
person
not why
in the NFL that owns a team.
that's why
His name is Tony Khan.
that's not
Jacksonville
And
Jaguars. Go
is
look
he
it
the
up. It's on.
controlling owner? I'm
that's
Yes, he
talking
is.
about
He's the only
control.
one.
not
You're right.
even
He's the only controlling owner. The
Oh
dark
no,
skin,
he's not black though.
and he's not black. That's what I'm saying. It's only one dark skinned melanated person that owns a
the
team
point of
in
the
the NFL.
the point
Tony
the
Khan.
point
That's it.
of the
He's a
exercise
tether.
had nothing to do with
Yes,
And he's of the
if
he
you
is a
listen,
tether.
Yes.
the
Yep.
point of the exercise had nothing to do with the ownership. The example was is at one point the NBA was one of the most racist organizations in America. The rule book is not changed.
And
It
they
still
let
is.
Would
Negroes come in
you,
and be
God damn
employed.
it, shut the fuck up and
No,
let me
I'm not
say
going to shut
something.
up because you keep going back to that same point, and
Well
that's
then
not what the hell we're
get the
talking
it
about.
was what I
Just
was
because,
talking about.
okay, so
It was
they
what I was
integrated
talking about.
they
The
integrated the sport
point
team,
is
and now black
we're
people
not talking
dominate it, and
about
they get a check.
integrating
They're
the
employees.
sports
They're the
team.
workers. They're the worker
What
bees.
we're
We're
talking
talking about ownership
the
here.
point is no, I was not.
The point is black people
The
don't own
point
shit. That's the
was
point.
that the rule
They don't
book
own
has
shit on
not
Wall Street. They
changed.
don't own shit
And
in
the
the
point
banking. They don't own shit
is
when we're
that
talking
black
about the
folk
sports.
learned how to
Black people
play
don't
the
own shit.
game.
Now that's a whole
Oh,
fact.
that's bullshit.
It
What
is
about the
no,
guy
it's
who
not
owns
No,
bullshit.
BET?
It's
no
bullshit
judge.
Complete
that you are
bullshit.
so
No judge. It is
oblivious
true.
to
That's
it.
bullshit. There
You're
are
That
oblivious
is
to
not.
that.
That's
right
very
Well,
true,
now,
Judge.
right now there are
Black
either way,
America does
I'll tell
not
you this right
own
now.
anything in
well, let
I
America,
me
and
came
that
up
is
with the
I'm
conclusion,
intentional.
sorry. Okay,
okay,
That is
that either
intentional.
I'm
person I
sorry
was
to
talking
bust
about.
somebody's
That is
inferiority
intentional.
What
complex.
about Oprah?
She doesn't own a
She
team.
don't own shit.
Now
She don't own shit neither.
Oh,
Oprah,
Judge agree with you on. Judge agrees with that.
yeah,
That Oprah don't own shit. Yeah.
Oprah got
Now all of a sudden, Judge, you want to say, oh,
oh well
she don't own nothing
she
either.
got her money set up.
She doesn't own shit. I'm trying to tell y'all, Black America does not own shit.
We
The
don't.
Who
We do
only
owns
not
the
guy,
own
Oprah
media
Winfrey
the
unless it's
only
Network?
person, the
independent on a
only
lower
person that
She
level.
owned
doesn't.
anything
She
was
doesn't.
Bob Johnson, and he sold BET
Yeah, but
And
over
he
to
probably
white
had to sell
people.
it because
If
eventually he
you
probably would have
time
got
Yeah.
out,
squeezed
Elder,
out.
one at a time. One at a time. Now who's gonna talk?
Nobody, because this space is
Okay,
over,
now
honey. It's
let's
late. It's
move
past
on.
1 in the
We got a
morning.
new subject here, Johnson.
No, we don't. The
He
subject is
brought up
right.
something else. Johnson owned BET. When Johnson divested his ownership of BET, he acquired stock in Viacom, which is the most, shall we say, profitable entertainment consortium in America. So he controls the largest block of stock in Viacom by an individual owner. That's what he got out of the deal. So technically, no, he does not own BET anymore. BET merged with Viacom as a
We know that,
subsidiary.
Judge.
But
We know
what
that.
he did is he became the largest individual stockholder in Viacom.
But he
So
doesn't. But he doesn't control it.
nobody does, but he's the biggest stockholder.
But he doesn't have the last say so.
Nobody does, but he owns the
Oh yeah,
biggest
there's some
share.
people who
He
does.
is the no. There is no individual.
It's a board,
It's a
Dana. It's a
Yeah,
it's a
board.
honey. I
consortium.
know it's a board,
It's a
but even his
consortium
vote is
of
not the majority.
it's a consortium of corporations that own Viacom. Bob Johnson is the largest individual owner of
But that's only
Viacom
for.
stock.
But how does that benefit Black America?
Who gives a goddamn? It's a black
Oh,
man.
really? Who gives a goddamn? Are you
Who
serious?
gives a
Oh,
damn?
That's your
good.
answer?
No, the point is,
That's
Oh
your
my God.
the
answer.
point
So
is,
as long as it's a black face in these high places for their
I'm
own self
stating you,
needs, that's okay.
I'm stating
And
you,
that's the
I'm
problem with Black
stating for
America.
you
That's
a
the problem with Black
reality.
America, because
I'm
if that was
stating for
any other
you,
person,
I'm
you
sta-
can't. A Jewish
I'm
person, when they
stating,
get in
I'm
rooms, they make sure they
stating,
look out for their
I'm
community.
stating a
But with
real.
Black people, they
Are you
don't
trying
care.
to talk over me, or are
Yeah,
you trying to get the
That's not true,
information?
Dana.
Now the
He just
That's
information.
said,
not
I don't give a
true.
damn. He
I
just
know
said
you
it.
don't.
Yeah,
I said,
but Dana, I
how
don't
does that
care
help
if
Black
other
America? He
Italians
was like, I don't
like,
give
I
a
don't
damn.
care. Like, I only care about who I'm with. What do I care if
The
Exactly.
other
point
Italian?
is
But
opportunity. And the fact of the matter is when you start talking about why doesn't somebody take sympathy on the Negroes and think about them,
Ain't nobody
it
saying
would
that. I
be
don't know where the hell
good,
you getting that
but
from. So don't even
nobody
act
gives
like
a
that I'm spitting that
goddamn.
out my mouth. So don't try to
Nobody, you
switch.
just,
Don't switch
I
this
said,
conversation
I'm trying
around
to
nobody
because
so I,
gives
we
a
don't
I'm
damn.
pull
just
the wolves over your eyes
Nobody
when it
gives a
comes to the
damn.
definition of white supremacy.
Nobody
So
gives
don't
a
switch
damn.
that shit around.
White
And I don't
supremacy
have no victim mentality
White
at
supremacy
all. So
envisions
I don't walk
Negro
around here talking about white
inferiority.
supremacy
they
this,
trying
white
to put me
supremacy
in
that.
So
But if
what are
you
you
ask me a
talking about?
question
Judge
on the
already.
definition, I know what it
When you
means.
say
But I don't use it
supremacy,
as no
what the
damn
hell are
clutch
they
either.
supposed to be supreme over? Unless it's something inferior. That is a way of thinking that's poisonous.
that's what Mark Carter said. Yep.
We've got to,
Anyway,
what we have to do is generate the capital for communities to be able to invest in themselves and build the infrastructure and run the companies they want to run.
Judge,
yeah.
That's all we
final
need.
question I have: what's Diddy
Well,
gonna get?
honestly, Peter, I don't want you to ask a final question.
That's
I really don't. It's
sentencing
late.
guidelines. Federal sentencing guidelines will be subject to a full investigation by the sentencing agencies, and the judge will go down the checklist on the guidelines and add up the numbers in effect at the end and determine what the sentence is. If he deviates from the guideline, he's got to show good cause, either going up or down from them. The typical
Defense.
sentence for this kind of thing is not that great. The person that was the first one convicted under that the whole Mann Act was set up to go after, Jack Johnson, got 1 year. Now, that's some
Wait, so
idea.
Yeah, he's asking for 14 months. His defense team, which is time served, so he wants to get out next Friday.
Yeah,
wait a minute. What happened though?
Can I finish my submission?
So, I mean, I represented a lot of people 40, 45 years ago charged with this 110-year-old crime. So they usually got 1 year or 2.
All right, it's late. I'm tired, and we've been up here over 3 hours. So,
And I've been at this trying to be free for a long time, and I'm not tired because nothing is more important to me than being
you're
free.
not tired because you're retired. So go ahead and can you close this out, please,
I
Judge?
work
I'm
50,
sorry.
60
Well, Queen B,
hours a
you said
week
you
when
didn't
I had a
finish what you were
profession.
saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, let Queen land.
Queen, go ahead.
Thank you. The only other thing that I wanted to ask was, Judge, did you ever get the opportunity to speak to Dexter Taylor? Because he wants to speak with you.
I don't remember. I may have,
Can
I
we
may
set
not
that up?
have. We can set that
He's
up.
okay. I can DM you, or should I DM Dana?
Do it with Dana.
Yeah, Judge, he's
Dana, I'm going to
currently
DM you.
incarcerated in New York. He's in Coxsackie, right,
What's
Queen?
he doing time for?
That
Ghost
is the
Guns.
gentleman. Ghost guns, right? About the Second Amendment during the Biden administration.
He got convicted of what now?
So okay, so the state of New York has separate laws, separate from the ghost gun statutes that were federal, and he imported specific pieces of different firearms. And Queen, correct me if I'm wrong at any point here. And he assembled them, and the state of New York came after him on state grounds, even though he didn't violate any federal laws. The state held him accountable allegedly for violating their own laws regarding ghost guns, so called.
Okay, the NRA got involved in that. They had a briefing on that a while back. So, any event, why doesn't he contact the NRA?
Well, we're trying to get
We've
him
been in
help. That's why he
we've
wants to
been in
talk to you.
contact with the NRA. They haven't made any movement on it, and I can give you more details
Well, what does
offline.
he expect me to do? I'm not giving legal
He doesn't
advice.
expect you to do anything. He wants to talk to you, and before you said you would talk to him
Well,
in the
yeah,
back
okay.
channels.
Well, yeah, I don't mind talking to anybody, but I can't do much for his circumstance except see what he's talking
Absolutely,
about. I'm
absolutely.
not practicing law, so I've been
We
retired
know.
from that for a while. So anyway, yeah, okay.
So okay, Dana, I'll DM you.
Okay.
Okay,
All
And
right.
I'll make sure I
Anything
pass
else
it
you
along.
have? Anything else you have?
that's it.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay,
Now,
Judge, can you close out this,
Thanks,
please?
Judge.
you're welcome. Now,
Oh,
anybody with anything else to add before we close this out?
uh, follow me.
Who are you? Who said that?
Me, Sherelle.
Oh, Sherelle. Yeah. I think I already do. I
And
follow.
support sport
I
law.
already follow you.
Support sport legislation like the one that I talked about today.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
but see, let me say this. One of the things that goes on anytime there's a contest between two teams, two sides, two individuals is a sight game. One of the best ways to win is to psych your opponent out. If your opponent goes into the combat contest or event thinking that he's going to lose, you've already gotten halfway to victory right there. And one point that I keep bringing up over and over again, and it's got to do with this victimhood mentality, is when you think like you are a victim, it is a very feminine way for a guy to think about stuff. Most guys, if you examine history, men diminish their opponents who are upcoming. Women tend to make much of the prowess, ferocity, and strength of an opponent coming up. When men win, then they glorify the opponent because the more badass somebody you beat down, the badder ass you are. But you see, it's a feminine thing when you say, oh, this guy is much better than me. I don't know why I'm fighting. It's no hope. I'm going to get my ass whipped if I fight this guy. That's not how men think. That is reflective of the effeminization, the emasculation of the country. And it's a very bad way to think. So I hear over and over these days this continuous barrage of somebody puts me in an inferior position because they are superior. You've already lost when you think like that. And if you say, I've had an enemy who has exploited me for several hundred years, you're a fool if you think all of a sudden he's going to, oh, I want to get to heaven, so I'm going to help this person I've been exploiting out. If the person thinks of you as a two-legged domestic animal, don't expect him to all of a sudden start loving you and start thinking about how intelligent you are and how much like him you may be. You have to deal with the fact that human nature has been dealing since day one with overcoming adversity. The world creates adversity, even if it doesn't bring it all from people. So if you're going to be a human on this planet, the more you relish the opportunity to take on adversity because it's something for you to conquer, a conquest for you to make to establish your worth,